Chapter 490. An astronomical bid. Lu Tianyi gritted his teeth in anger. Fatty Lai was twisting his butt as he raised his paddle, and Lu Tianyi was furious. Other people didn't know what the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was, but Lu Tianyi did. How could something Lin Yi made be anything bad? Just look at Fatty Lai's father and you'd know if this thing was good or not. He didn't expect Fatty Lai to raise the price to 100 million right off the bat. Did he know how to buy things? Even if he had the money, he wouldn't spend it like that, would he? House Lu might be rich, but they couldn't just throw away 100 million like that. But as angry as he was, he knew the true value of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Even 100 million was an understatement. And so Lu Tianyi raised his paddle without hesitation. 110 million. Wah! The crowd was in an uproar. It was one thing for Fatty Lai to go crazy earlier, but Lu Tianyi was the first-in-line heir to the House Lu. How could he possibly follow Fatty Lai's lead? He'd even raised the price to 110 million. Could this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing really be something good? The auctioneer sucked in a breath of cold air. Holiest *T. This kind of bidding was a once-in-a-thousand-year wait. Yu Haitian's brows furrowed even tighter. If Fatty Lai was driving up the price, then why was Lu Tianyi joining in the fun? As far as Yu Haitian was concerned, this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing might actually be something good. Had he misjudged it when he evaluated it? 150 million. Fatty Lai raised his paddle again. Lu Tianyi's lungs were about to explode. What was the meaning of this, Fatty Lai? Were you trying to fight with me? Don't think that I don't have money just because you're rich. Lu Tianyi raised his paddle again, calling out a price that caused the crowd to go wild. 200 million. Originally, everyone held a wait-and-see attitude. They wanted to see if others would make a move before deciding whether they would make a move or not. Many of the people present knew Lu Tianyi, and if Lu Tianyi had his eyes on something, how could it not be something good? But now they really couldn't make a move. Firstly, the price had been raised to 200 million, which was really too high. Secondly, they really didn't want to become enemies with Lu Tianyi. From Lu Tianyi's way of bidding, it could be seen that he was determined to get this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have increased the price like this. Therefore, even if there were some people who were tempted, it would not be good to bid now. Fortunately, there were a total of 3 and there were still 2 left. They all began to rub their fists. Because the way Lu Tianyi was chasing after the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing reminded them of something. It wasn't a secret that Lu Tianyi's father had gone to see Guan Xuemin a while ago. So many people present knew about it. Connecting the dots to the miracle Dr. Guan medical company that the auctioneer mentioned, they immediately thought of Guan Xuemin. Could it be that Lu Tianyi's father's condition had improved because of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing? Those who knew Fatty Lai at the same time had an even greater realization. Fatty Lai's father had contracted uremia and was about to meet the king of hell when he suddenly got discharged from the hospital. Not only was his face glowing, but he was also eating well. He was even healthier than an old man his age. Even if his uremia wasn't completely cured, he was almost fully recovered. This miraculous situation made everyone present understand. Fatty Lai and Lu Tianyi weren't idiots. They both knew how good this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was. Why else would they dare to increase the price so much? 250 million. Fatty Lai's eyes were red. This was a rare treasure, and even Lin Yi said it was rare. It had to be very precious. Fatty Lai was too embarrassed to ask Lin Yi for it, so he could only bid for it himself. 280 million. Lu Tianyi gritted his teeth and called out the highest price he could. The crowd was in an uproar again. If Lu Tianyi didn't know about the effects of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, he wouldn't have called out this price. There was only one answer. The auctioneer's introduction was true. This pill really had the effects of prolonging life and detoxifying. Fatty Lai was about to call out another price when Lin Yi pulled him back, shaking his head. Stop, it's a little expensive. Alright. Fatty Lai didn't want to give up, but he didn't dare disobey Lin Yi. Lin Yi was his boss. Losing the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was painful, but offending Lin Yi would be worse than death. Your dad drank the medicine I made for you. He doesn't need this anymore, Lin Yi said faintly to Fatty Lai. You don't have to fight for it. Thank you so much, boss. Fatty Lai was overjoyed. He'd wanted to prepare an emergency pill for his father, but Lin Yi said he could cure it. Fatty Lai, on the other hand, wanted one for himself. After all, this was an immortal pill. Thus he said, "Boss, I also want one for myself." "Oh, I'll give you one when we get back," Lin Yi said nonchalantly. Fatty Lai burst into tears at Lin Yi's words. People who didn't know better would think that he was crying because he didn't have the money to bid for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. 280 million going once, 280 million going twice, 280 million going thrice. Sold. The auctioneer was extremely excited. This price could be said to be the most expensive item in the entire auction. Even the items on the third day of the auction might not be sold at such a price. This pill of life extension and toxin cleansing had the right to be auctioned in the third round. But since it was already in the first round, there was no changing it. They could only continue. Lu Tianyi was overjoyed when he saw Fatty Lai stop bidding and start sobbing. This Fatty Lai must be out of money. He heard that House Lai's boss was trying to split from him, and it seemed like House Lai's money had all been taken by Lai Chongtian. Next, the second pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, with a starting price of 100 million. The auctioneer said slowly. Every increment must be at least 10 million. The auctioneer could increase the price according to the market and the response. With the previous example, the auctioneer wouldn't start with a starting price of 1 million again. That would be a joke. Although this price shocked the guests present, they also knew that this thing was indeed worth the price, so they didn't have any objections. "Dad, what's that? How can it be sold for such a high price?" Xiao Xiao looked at her father, confused. Chapter 491. House Yu makes a move. Tianlong, on the other hand, had a frown on his face. His heart was in turmoil, unable to calm down. Was there such a miraculous pill in this world? Would it work on his daughter's illness? If it really was as the auctioneer said, that it could cleanse a person's bones and marrow, could it be used on his daughter as well? Xiao Xiao's illness was caused by a defect in her blood. Miracle Dr. Lin had said it before, and with the development of science and technology, some genetic experts had said it as well. They'd all tried other methods to make up for Xiao Xiao's blood defect, but there hadn't been any progress. If this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was effective, Tianlong would have gotten one for Xiao Xiao no matter what, but the price was too high for him to even think about it. He belonged to the most secretive department, and his annual salary was frighteningly high in the eyes of normal people, but he'd probably have to live his entire life without eating or drinking to buy a pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. "Dad, what's wrong?" Xiao Xiao asked curiously, seeing the conflicted look on her father's face. "Xiao Xiao, I'm thinking, does this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing work on you?" Tianlong said after some hesitation. "But I can't afford it, huh?" Xiao Xiao started laughing. "This thing sounds like a strength pill. How could it be real?" "Dad, don't believe it, it's a scam." "But the two people in the auction aren't idiots," Tianlong said, shaking his head. Feng Tianlong shook his head. "One of them is Lai Chongyi, the youngest son of the chairman of the biggest electronics industry in the north. He's rich, but he's not a prodigal. He's good at business. But why does he look like a crybaby? He can't get the pill, so he's just standing there crying?" Xiao Xiao clicked her tongue. This fatty wasn't simple, but why was he crying? "That's just how he is, but he doesn't cry all the time. He only cries for certain things," Tianlong said. "The other person's even more powerful. He's the first heir to Yanjing's house, Lu Tianyi. He can't be an idiot. What's wrong with that? Rich people will buy weird stuff if they see it." Xiao Xiao didn't believe that the pill was that powerful. "Let's wait and see." Tianlong had already made up his mind to pay a visit to Lu Tianyi. If this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was really effective, he had to get one for his daughter no matter what. The bidding for the second pill of life extension and toxin cleansing had already begun. Because the base price had been raised to 100 million, most of the people who wanted to participate in the bidding decided to wait and see. 150 million. Fatty Lai jumped up again, raising the card in his hand. The crowd wasn't surprised at all. Fatty Lai had already bid 250 million, so it was reasonable for him to bid 150 million now. It seemed like he was determined to get it. A lot of people saw Fatty Lai and Lu Tianyi fighting over the pill, and they were certain that the pill was something good and effective. But they didn't have the guts to throw out a few 100 million yuan for it. What if the effect was not obvious? What if it could only extend one's lifespan for a short period of time? That wouldn't be worth it. With 200 million yuan they could do a lot more things. There was no need to buy this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. 200 million. Tianyi didn't expect Tianyi to raise his paddle again and bid. Fatty Lai was starting to panic. Lu Tianyi, are you trying to go against me on purpose? What's the meaning of this? Isn't one enough for you? You want to fight with me? Aren't you a little too much? It's a fair competition and the highest bidder wins. It's only right and proper. Lu Tianyi glanced at Fatty Lai. He knew that he was going a little overboard, but he couldn't back down now. If he could get it for 200 million, then so be it. If it was more than that, Lu Tianyi would give up. After all, money didn't grow on trees. Lu Tianyi was already very satisfied with just one pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. 250 million. Fatty Lai raised his card again, but this time he smiled at Lin Yi, who was sitting on the chair. Lin Yi immediately understood that Fatty Lai had jumped out to mess things up. His goal was to get the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing at a higher price. He didn't stop him and let him bid. Raise the sign and buy it. The middle-aged man beside Yu Haitian suddenly spoke and ordered Yu Haitian. Yu Haitian was slightly taken aback. He then nodded and said, "Yes, second uncle, 280 million. Haitian raised the bidding card in his hand. House Yu was the organizer of the auction, but they had the right to participate in the bidding as well. It was just that there were too few items that caught House Yu's eye. Everyone present was surprised at Haitian's sudden participation. House Yu had never raised a card in the past few years, because everyone knew that once House Yu raised their card, no one would dare compete with them. It wasn't just because they were afraid of House Yu's wealth, but also because they didn't want to be enemies with House Yu. Whatever House Yu wanted, they would get it no matter how much money they had. So as long as House Yu raised their card, everyone else would give up. House Yu understood this as well, and so they wouldn't raise their card easily. Doing so would ruin the reputation of their auction. They would only make an exception if there was something they absolutely had to get. Just like now, House Yu was actually bidding for a pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. This meant that House Yu was determined to get the pill this time, and the pill was confirmed as well. However, House Yu wouldn't do something that would be criticized by others. Haitian's bid was the same price as the previous pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, so it wasn't considered bullying the weak. It was a very fair deal for the seller. After House Yu's bid, no one else bid, and so Haitian successfully won the second pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. The third pill of life extension and toxin cleansing appeared, and it was also the last one. Many people were rubbing their palms together, but they really couldn't bear to spend 200 million on a pill. They weren't House Yu, nor were they House Lu, nor were they the nouveau riche Fatty Lai. They had other businesses that needed money, and this 280 million was a little too much. Chapter 492. The final auction. It looks like the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is very popular. Now let's start the auction for the last pill. Guests who are determined to get it, don't hold back. Remember, this is the last one. The last one. The auctioneer excitedly took out the last pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. He also hoped that this final pill of life extension and toxin cleansing could create a miracle and break through the previous two prices. The auction began, and the first to jump out was still Fatty Lai. Fatty Lai was still wiggling his fat butt as he raised his bidding card. 200 million. Wah! The people in the hall didn't expect Fatty Lai to bid 200 million this time. But they understood after some thought. Fatty Lai had failed twice before, and this was his last chance. If he didn't seize this chance, there wouldn't be another one in the future. The one who couldn't understand Fatty Lai's bidding was Yu Haitian. He'd gotten the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but the more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. This pill was a good item. Uncle, should we bid for another one? No. The middle-aged man shook his head. You've already lowered the price for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Lai Changyi didn't increase the price because of House Yu. I'm sure the others are the same. If you continue to fight, you'll lose out. That's not House Yu's style. Ah? Lowered? Yu Haitian blinked. Keep watching and you'll know. The middle-aged man said faintly. I'm afraid the price this time will exceed 300 million. Yu Haitian was filled with regret at his uncle's words. He was still young and hadn't thought things through. He'd thought that he'd just bid the highest price in the first round, but it was still too low. Under normal circumstances, if there were several similar items being auctioned in an auction, the price of the first auction item would be higher. and the price of the remaining items would decrease accordingly. This was because the buyers had already competed with each other, and the remaining prices would only be lower. But this time it was obvious that something unexpected had happened. Lu Tianyi wanted to join in the fun, but when he heard the price of 200 million he gave up. He didn't want to bid anymore. Although the Lu family was rich, a lot of it was real estate and securities which couldn't be sold at all. Moreover, even if he had liquid funds he couldn't possibly use them all to buy pills, right? 210 million. A young man from an aristocratic family raised his bidding card after getting the tacit approval of his elders. However, he was immediately looked down upon by the others. Other people increased the price by tens of millions, but he only increased it by 10 million. Wasn't that too little? 250 million. Fatty Lai said generously. Dr. Kong frowned. He'd wanted to bid during the second round, but he didn't expect House Yu to beat him to it. He didn't dare compete with House Yu, so he could only wait until the third round. But judging from Fatty Lai's expression he was determined to get the pill. Dr. Kong was starting to panic. Lin Yi and Guan Xiumin had been sitting the whole time, and it was Fatty Lai who'd stood up and raised his bidding card. No one could see Lin Yi and Guan Xiumin clearly, not even Dr. Kong. 280 million. Under Dr. Kang's signal, Kong Guifeng bid a higher price, the same as the 2 pills of life extension and toxin cleansing. He'd thought that Fatty Lai wouldn't compete, but life was full of surprises. 300 million. Fatty Lai clenched his teeth and raised his bidding card without hesitation. The crowd froze for a moment, but they all understood why Fatty Lai would bid 300 million. He'd given up the first time because he'd still have another chance. The second time it was House Yu who'd made the bid. Fatty Lai didn't want to compete, nor did he dare, so he'd given up. The third time was his last chance and he had to grit his teeth and fight for it. With that, 300 million wasn't that high anymore. Dr. Kong was so angry he wanted to curse. This Fatty Lai was too much of a bully, wasn't he? He didn't increase the price when Lu Tianyi bid, and he didn't increase the price when Haitian bid. But when it came to Dr. Kong he raised it to 300 million. With the previous example, Dr. Kong thought that 280 million was more or less within his grasp, but it seemed that things weren't as simple as he'd thought. Dad, what do we do? Kong Guifeng frowned. This is the last pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, and that damn fatty seems determined to get it. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben on the other hand were confused. Elder Kong, is this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing really something good? Dr. Kong didn't answer them but turned to Kong Guifeng instead. It doesn't matter if he's determined to get it or not, we have to get this last pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. This is very important to our family. I understand. Kong Guifeng obviously knew what his father meant. Once the ingredients of this pill were analyzed, then the day of House Kang's meteoric rise was just around the corner. This might be an ancient medicine that has been lost for a long time. Dr. Kong said to Kong Guifeng before explaining to the Xiao family brothers. If I buy one I plan to study it. Oh? No wonder it's so expensive, it's a lost ancient medicine. Xiao Ji said, understanding dawning on him. Then we have to buy it. With your knowledge, Elder Kong, I'm sure you'll succeed. Ah, that's not for sure. Isn't the one who discovered this pill some miracle doctor company? They haven't figured it out yet, have they? I can only give it a try. Xiao Ji's words were very pleasing to the ears, and it made Dr. Kong very happy. On the other side, Kong Guifeng had already started bidding. 320 million, 350 million. Fatty Lai didn't wait for the auctioneer to speak, calling out an even higher price. Kong Guifeng froze, a layer of cold sweat forming on his forehead. This Fatty Lai sure was rich, daring enough to raise the price. Continue. Dr. Kong didn't want to spend so much money, but he was rich after all. Dr. Kang's medical group had close to 500 million in liquid assets, and he could still use it. 380 million. Kong Guifeng continued raising his paddle. Fatty Lai hesitated for a moment, but just when the auctioneer called out 380 million going once, Fatty Lai jumped out again. 400 million. Fatty Lai called out his own price. Chapter 493. Changes in the auction. But Fatty Lai and Dr. Kang's family were at odds with each other. What kind of person was Dr. Kong? He was a tycoon in the medical world, and even he was willing to pay such a high price for a pill. How could it be a normal pill? The crowd was starting to regret not joining the bidding when the first pill was brought out, allowing Lu Tianyi to take advantage of the situation. The price was now at 400 million, and it might not even be the final price. As expected, Kong Guifeng raised his paddle again under Dr. Kang's signal. 410 million. He didn't dare raise the bid too much this time. House Kong only had about 500 million in liquid assets, and if he were to raise the bid too much, they'd run out of liquid assets and their business would be affected. But after Kong Guifeng raised the bid, Fatty Lai didn't make a sound. Those who didn't know the situation would think that Fatty Lai was out of money and was hesitating or giving up. Fatty Lai, however, smiled at Lin Yi. "Boss, I think House Kang's at their limit. I'll raise the bid one more time and they'll definitely be able to keep up, but it'll be hard to say if I raise it again." "Yeah, that's enough." Lin Yi smiled. This Fatty Lai was quite sarcastic, but Lin Yi didn't have a good impression of Dr. Kang's family. He wouldn't stop Fatty Lai from messing with them. 410 million going once. 410 million going twice. The auctioneer paused and looked at Fatty Lai to see if he was going to raise the bid. Dr. Kong was seething with anger. What kind of game was this auctioneer playing? Why was he looking at Fatty Lai if he didn't have the guts to go in for the third time? Wasn't he encouraging Fatty Lai to go against him? However, the auctioneer's encouragement was effective. Fatty Lai gritted his teeth and stood up abruptly, raising his paddle. 420 million. Dr. Kang's heart turned cold. Motherfucker, isn't this auctioneer too mean? But this was House Yu's auction house. Even if Dr. Kong had something to say, he couldn't say it out loud. He could only swallow his anger and signal Kong Guifeng to continue. This time, Dr. Kong had already decided to bet his treasure on the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Judging from the current situation, there were probably only 3 of these pills left. If he missed this one, there wouldn't be any left. Hence, Dr. Kong had no choice but to grit his teeth and bear with it. 430 million. Kong Guifeng raised the bidding board in his hand. 430 million going once. 430 million going twice. 430 million going thrice. Sold. The auctioneer wanted Fatty Lai to continue bidding, but regrettably, Fatty Lai backed off this time. He was out of money and decided to give up. He sat there quietly, not moving an inch. The happiest person right now was Lu Tianyi. He was feeling great. He'd thought that 280 million for a pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was expensive, but now he felt like he'd gotten a great deal. Fatty Lai didn't even get the last pill for 420 million. It was Dr. Kang's family who got it for 430 million. But he was wrong. He thought he was the happiest person, but that wasn't the case. The happiest person was Fatty Lai. He'd played everyone in the hall. These 3 elixirs had brought the company nearly 1 billion yuan in profit. This was an important stage of the company's development. With 1 billion yuan, they could do a lot of things. Fatty Lai did want to bid for one earlier, but since Lin Yi had already agreed to give him one, he didn't want to mess things up anymore. "Boss, I didn't think we'd have so much money all of a sudden." Fatty Lai chuckled. Lin Yi didn't think that 3 normal bone and marrow cleansing pills could sell for so much money. Old Lin had packed them into jars for him to eat when he was young. "Heh, you won't be left out." Lin Yi was very impressed with Fatty Lai's business acumen. If Fatty Lai hadn't messed things up today, the 3 pills of life extension and toxin cleansing wouldn't have sold for such a high price. "Thank you, boss." Fatty Lai nodded excitedly. However, just as the auctioneer was about to introduce the next item, someone from the guest seats spoke up. "Good things should be shared with everyone. Little Yu Haitian, ask the seller if they still have the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. We haven't even started bidding and the item is already gone. This isn't fair." The person who spoke was the head of the Iron Fist Wu family, Wu Gonggao. His name was very well chosen. Wu Gonggao naturally meant that he was highly skilled in martial arts. It was a bit of a boast, but it was well deserved. He was one of the few remaining mystic class masters in the common world. Only he dared to speak to someone from House Yu like this. House Wu Iron Fist was an ancient noble house. Although they looked to be about the same age as Lu Tianyi's House Lu, for a century-old noble house like this, which one of them didn't have a trump card? Even the head of House Wu, Wu Gonggao's martial arts were enough to shock the audience. Even House Yu was wary of him. It could be said that as long as Wu Gonggao was in charge of House Wu Iron Fist, no one dared to underestimate them. Wu Gonggao rushed over after receiving a call from his grandson Wu Chintian. He was in Yanjing as well and had come to House Yu's auction, but a head of a house like him would rarely attend the first and second day of the auction. The first two auctions were usually attended by the descendants of the house, and he would only attend the last one himself. But when he heard that there was a pill of life extension and toxin cleansing that had a price of 280 million, and that House Yu was making a move, he couldn't sit still anymore. He rushed over to the auction site, just in time for the auctioneer's final hammer strike. Qin Tian, on the other hand, took a look at the introduction of the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, and immediately felt that it was similar to the long-lost bone cleansing pill in Wulin. His interest was piqued and he interrupted the auction unwillingly. If it were just a normal noble house's disciple or a rich merchant asking, Haitian would naturally have an excuse to reject him. But the person asking was the head of House Wu Iron Fist, Wu Gonggao, a mystic class master. He naturally didn't dare ignore him and looked at his second uncle. Ask Mr. Lai Changyi for his opinion. The middle-aged man hesitated before speaking faintly. If there's more, it's fine to take out a few more. We won't take a cut. Chapter 494. Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Company Limited. In an auction, if an item was sold very well and wasn't unique, then the auction house would contact the seller at the last minute and ask if there were any other similar items to be auctioned. So it wasn't strange for Haitian to call Lai Changyi right now. Mr. Lai, the response to the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is quite good. Do you have another treasure like that in your hands? You heard it yourself, there are some guests who haven't had the chance to buy it yet, Haitian asked casually. He didn't think much of Fatty Lai before, but his attitude was much better now. I'm sorry, Mr. Yu, but I only have 3 now. I won't be able to bring out a 4th in this auction no matter what. Fatty Lai said apologetically. Is that so? That's a shame. Haitian sighed. Looks like I'll have to go on stage and explain. Why don't I go and explain? I can also explain why this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is so rare, Fatty Lai said. Sure, I'll have to trouble you then, Mr. Lai. If Lai Changyi were to personally explain the situation, it would save Haitian a lot of trouble. Otherwise, if someone came looking for him for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, even though he was the person in charge of the auction, he wouldn't be able to produce the extra pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Now that Fatty Lai was shouldering all the responsibility, it couldn't be any better. After hanging up, Fatty Lai twisted his fat body and walked up to the auction stage under everyone's surprised gazes. Greetings, guests. I represent Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company to express our sincerest apologies. Fatty Lai held the microphone in his hand and spoke to the people below the stage. Huh. All the guests were dumbfounded. Fatty Lai was from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company? Then why did he participate in the auction? Could it be that he was selling and buying, driving up the price? Instantly, many of the guests frowned at Fatty Lai's actions. Fatty Lai's actions were very inappropriate. Although there was nothing wrong with it, everyone knew the rules of the auction, and House Yu would take a cut of the profits. But Fatty Lai's actions would damage his reputation. Miracle Dr. Kong was the angriest of them all. Tianyi wasn't that far off, but the price he'd bid was already very cheap, so he wasn't too conflicted. Dr. Kong, on the other hand, was different. That was 430 million. Most of the family's cash flow had been used up, but Fatty Lai had tricked him. The ingredients for this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing are very rare, and the refining process is very complicated. Professor Guan used almost a year to refine 5 pills, and 3 of them were auctioned off. Fatty Lai shook his head as he continued. Fatty Lai's words calmed the crowd down a little. 5 pills in a year and the ingredients were rare. This pill was a priceless treasure. If it was said that Dr. Kong had refined it, the people present might have doubted it. But if it was said that Guan Xueming had refined it, everyone believed it. In the eyes of these aristocratic families, Guan Xueming was already a divine doctor. But weren't there still 2 left? Where did they go? As for the remaining 2, one of them was given to Miracle Dr. Kong by another partner of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company during his birthday banquet. The other one was taken by my father. Fatty Lai blurted out the whereabouts of the other 2 pills of life extension and toxin cleansing. Naturally, he wouldn't tell anyone that the pill his father took was actually Dr. Kang's. The people who knew Fatty Lai finally understood why his father had recovered so quickly. He was in a coma from uremia on the verge of death. But now his body was as good as new. These people beat their chests and stomped their feet, regretting that they didn't act earlier. Now there were only 5 left and now they were all gone. Of course, the most embarrassed person was Dr. Kong. His face was burning. He just told Xiaoji that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was a lost product of ancient times. But now it was Guan Xuemin's doing. Not only that, but he'd even given you a pill of life extension and toxin cleansing at your birthday banquet. How could you say that it was a unique item? However, Xiaoji didn't voice his disdain because he was on the same side as House Kong. If Dr. Kong was embarrassed, they wouldn't have it easy either. But Fatty Lai's next words made Dr. Kong feel a little better. So, these 3 are the only 3 left. I may be the CEO of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, but I don't have the right to own a pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. So when I found out about the effects of this pill, I couldn't help but participate in the bidding. But I didn't get it in the end. It's a pity. The guests heard Fatty Lai's words and understood his actions. Fatty Lai really wanted to buy it and he wasn't trying to mess things up. If they didn't want it, then he would. As for why Fatty Lai raised the price from the start, it was simple. He knew the true value of the pill and so people dared to bid. But I'll discuss with Professor Guan when I get back. We'll see if we can bring out some other good items to auction in the 3rd auction. Fatty Lai finished speaking and bowed to everyone. Thank you all for your love for our Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Our products will be sold after the auction. After that, Fatty Lai walked down the stage. The audience was very interested in the items that Fatty Lai mentioned in the 3rd auction. They were all discussing whether this Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company would bring them any surprises. Guan Xuemin's name had always been resounding among these aristocratic families and wealthy merchants. His acupuncture skills were even more superb. But Miracle Dr. Guan didn't care about fame and fortune. Even if there were people who wanted to get close to him, they didn't have much of a relationship with him. But who would have thought that Guan Xueming would set up a company with someone else and set up the Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company? Was he going against Dr. Kang's medical company? Or did Guan Xueming suddenly want to earn money? Chapter 495. Chapter 495. Meeting an old friend. Fatty Lai's words were smooth, but he didn't say a single thing about the actual problem. Whether or not the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing would be available in the future. And when he didn't say, he also didn't say what items would be added for the 3rd auction, and whether or not they would be added was still unknown. But even with this kind of slick and ambiguous attitude, the people present were still very excited and expectant. Vague things always let people's imagination run wild. You sure know how to talk. That's as good as not saying anything. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he watched Fatty Lai come down. Haha, that's true. How can we just say things like that? It's a trade secret. Fatty Lai smiled shyly. But boss, do you think we'll be auctioning anything else for the 3rd auction? What else? Lin Yi didn't have anything prepared, but it wasn't too late to prepare now. I heard that Dr. Kang's auctioning some special edition golden creation medicine tomorrow. I heard that it heals wounds faster than normal medicine, Fatty Lai said. Why don't we auction some special edition golden creation medicine as well? I've already offended him to death and once our medicine hits the market we'll be competitors. We don't have to worry about making enemies with them. Lin Yi's interest was piqued when he heard that Dr. Kong had special edition golden creation medicine in the auction as well. Let me think, let's see what I can come up with. Let's see if it can surpass his. That's great. As expected of the boss. Fatty Lai nodded repeatedly. That's true. It'd be meaningless if it were the same as them. It'd look like we're trying to copy him. The following auction items were all ordinary items. Of course, this was only relative. Because even if these items were to be brought to an ordinary auction, they would be considered top-notch items. It was just that everyone here had seen the world, so they weren't too surprised by these things. None of the bids were higher than the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. In fact, they weren't even a tenth of the price. Lin Yi wasn't interested anymore, so Fatty Lai left his seat and went to the backstage of the auction to handle the handover procedures. The profits from the 3 pills, minus the money spent on the sheepskin map, were all deposited into Fatty Lie's account. After the paperwork was done, Fatty Lie returned with the map and handed it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi opened it and glanced at it, then put it away. This was not the place to study these things, and Lin Yi did not intend to study them, at least not now. Including the piece at home, Lin Yi only had 2 pieces of the map. He didn't know how big the map was and how many pieces it was divided into, so the 2 pieces he had were practically useless. Lin Yi had asked Fatty Lie to bid for it out of curiosity. He didn't expect the map to bring him any benefits, it was just a spur-of-the-moment decision. The auction ended quickly. Other than the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, none of the other items had this kind of effect. After a few bids, the auction ended abruptly. There was nothing special about the first day's auction, and it was the same every year. It was just that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was a special case. Lin Yi, Fatty Lie, and Guan Xiumin stood up and prepared to leave, but they saw Dr. Kong looking in their direction. His face froze when he saw Lin Yi and Guan Xiumin. Lin Yi nodded at him and smiled. Dr. Kong had long suspected that Lin Yi was a second-generation heir, so he only frowned when he saw him with Fatty Lie and Guan Xiumin. As far as he was concerned, Guan Xiumin's business career was all thanks to Lin Yi and Fatty Lie. The investor was most likely Fatty Lie, and this Lin Yi probably had some shares as well. But Dr. Kong didn't think much of it. The person he was afraid of was Fatty Lie, the veteran businessman. Lin Yi. Xiao Xiao couldn't believe what she was seeing. She rubbed her eyes and confirmed that it was Lin Yi. She ran over and cried out in joy. Lin Yi. Lin Yi turned around and looked at Xiao Xiao, surprised. He didn't understand why he would see her here. Lin Yi didn't believe that Xiao Xiao followed him here, because he didn't see her at all when he boarded the plane. The only possibility was that it was a coincidence. He smiled bitterly. Why are you here? Yeah, why are you here? Xiao Xiao asked at the same time. I'm just looking around with my friends. Lin Yi smiled. I still have something to do. I'll be going. Lin Yi didn't want to get too close to Xiao Xiao. This girl's way of thinking was a little weird, and it made Lin Yi want to stay away from her. Are you coming tomorrow? Are we going to sit together? Xiao Xiao was annoyed. Why was Lin Yi so cold to her? But on the surface, she looked at Lin Yi expectantly and asked pitifully. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Lin Yi didn't want to waste time with her. All right, I'll come find you tomorrow. Xiao Xiao remembered that her dad was still waiting for her. She didn't want to talk too much with Lin Yi. But seeing Lin Yi here gave her an inexplicable sense of excitement. It was a feeling she couldn't quite put her finger on. Meeting an old friend in a foreign land? Or was it a chance for her to make Lin Yi fall in love with her? Or was it because she was bored? At that moment, Gong Gao and Qin Tian walked over briskly. Gong Gao was tempted after learning that Guan Xiumin was the one who'd made the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. He wanted to talk to Guan Xiumin and see if he could get him another one. Professor Guan. Long time no see. I've missed you. Gong Gao was wearing a long robe, looking quite like a martial artist. He cupped his fists excitedly when he saw Xiumin. Ha, Elder Wu, how are you? Xiumin nodded with a smile. He'd given Gong Gao acupuncture before, so he wasn't a stranger, but he didn't act overly friendly or familiar. Xiumin's attitude towards noble houses had always been neutral, and he didn't get too close to any of them. Even the famous House Yu and the Iron Fist Wu. Thanks to Professor Guan, I'm still healthy. But I'll have to trouble Miracle Dr. Guan to give me acupuncture when you're free. Gong Gao said very politely. Chapter 496. A tense situation. That's not a problem, Elder Wu. Just come visit me in Songshan when you're free. Xiumin didn't decline the offer, but he definitely wouldn't go to the noble houses to treat them. Xiumin's temper was something that all the noble houses and merchants knew of. He was willing to see patients and he didn't care about the fees, but he never went out to see patients. If he was sick, he'd come to Songshan. This was also because Xiumin was also teaching at the University of Medicine and Medicine. In his eyes, he was a professor and teaching was his duty. So no matter what happened, he couldn't let his students get in the way of teaching. All right, I'll be sure to visit soon. Gong Gao nodded with a smile. Grandpa, this is the guy I told you about. Not only did he seduce Sun Jingyi, but he even pretended to be some bullshit miracle doctor. He's obviously a liar. I even got slapped by my aunt because of him. Qin abruptly realized that Lin Yi, who was standing beside Xiumin, felt an uncontrollable sense of humiliation. He lost his mind instantly, pointing at Lin Yi and yelling at him. Qin had been raised too high by the house recently, and was being groomed as the third-generation heir. But it made sense, a young man in his 20s reaching golden class early phase. What kind of achievement was that? He was probably the only one in this world. Of course, that was only what House Wu thought. And so, House Wu put all the benefits on Qin head, creating his arrogant and domineering personality. He wouldn't take a single loss and he'd always take revenge. And so when he saw Lin Yi, he didn't even think before insulting him. Xiumin's face darkened. In his eyes, Lin Yi was both a teacher and a friend. No matter how bad he was still a senior brother. And so, naturally, he wasn't happy that someone was insulting Lin Yi like that. He looked at Gong Gao and said faintly, "Elder Wu will be leaving if there's nothing else." Wu Gonggao's expression froze. He did not expect that Guan Xiumin would stand up for Lin Yi. He was in a difficult position. Wu Gonggao was famous for being protective of his own people. Furthermore, this grandson of his was extremely talented. Naturally, he treasured him a lot. Whatever he wanted, he would give it to him. No one could say or touch him. Since his grandson was in trouble, he would naturally stand up for him. Who cared whose fault it was and who the other party was? But now, Guan Xiumin was one of the few people he didn't dare to offend. With Guan Xiumin here, he naturally couldn't cause trouble for Lin Yi. He glanced at Lin Yi indifferently and remembered his face, preparing to find a chance to teach him a lesson. However, Wu Gonggao did not say anything, but some people were unwilling and directly blew up the temple. "Who are you calling a liar? Look at you, you're the liar. You're worse than a fart." Xiao didn't like it when this person insulted Lin Yi for no reason at all. Who was she? She was playing the role of Lin Yi's pursuer, and this person insulted Lin Yi. Wasn't that the same as insulting her for her lack of taste, for falling for a liar? And so naturally Xiao was unwilling. She glared at Qin, and if there weren't so many people around she would have kicked him. Who was Xiao? Beating people up was nothing out of the ordinary. Qin was furious to hear that someone was insulting him for Lin Yi. He was about to say something, but when he saw that it was a pretty girl, he couldn't say anything. "Don't get involved, this has nothing to do with you. The young has no manners and the old has no manners?" Xiao curled her lips. "Hey old man, your grandson has no manners at all. Aren't you going to teach him a lesson? What did you say, you little girl?" Gonggao's face flashed with anger as he looked at Xiao coldly, his fist turning into a palm. As the head of the Iron Fist Wu house, he had to teach a junior a lesson for talking to him like that. Where would his face go? Where would House Wu's face go? "You old man, what are you doing?" Xiao was startled. She didn't know martial arts, but she could feel the killing intent coming from Gonggao. Mystic early phase. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Wu Gonggao and Qin were both physical practitioners, so he couldn't feel the energy in their bodies. He could only sense their strength level when they used their physical practitioner's arts. He didn't expect this old man to be this strong. Lin Yi moved his body subconsciously, smiling bitterly. No matter what, Xiao was standing up for him just now. No matter what her intentions were, Lin Yi couldn't just leave her be. Otherwise, it'd be too much. So as soon as Gonggao made his move, Lin Yi planned to block it for Xiao. Although the opponent was a mystic early phase, Lin Yi was a golden class late phase peak and he practiced the art of Dragon Slayer. Naturally, he had the confidence to take a hit from a mystic early phase. He couldn't guarantee victory, but he could protect himself. But Lin Yi's move was unnecessary. The moment he moved, a middle-aged man appeared in front of Xiao, looking at Gonggao calmly. "Elder Wu, are you going to attack my daughter?" Gonggao paused, his face changing. How could he not know Feng Tianlong? Gonggao took a deep breath, knowing that he couldn't do anything today. It was impossible to teach Xiao a lesson. What Gonggao was afraid of wasn't Tianlong's golden class mid-phase strength. In the eyes of a mystic early phase, a golden class was nothing. Of course, what he was afraid of wasn't Tianlong's background. The Supernatural Investigation Department was a mysterious organization, and their power was shocking. But that was for normal people. For a noble house like Gonggao, although he wouldn't make them his enemy, he wasn't afraid of them either. What Gonggao was afraid of was the person who had retired for more than 10 years, Tianlong's former captain. That person used to be a member of the Supernatural Investigation Department's Special Task Force, and had brought Tianlong on missions before. He had a close relationship with Tianlong. If it wasn't Tianlong, Gong Gao might not give face to someone else, but he had to give face to Tianlong. In that person's eyes, even an Earth class would be nothing to him, let alone a mystic early phase. Although he didn't know how strong that person was, Gong Gao knew that if he pissed him off, House Wu would be finished. It would only take a day. Fu. Gong Gao let out a long breath and smiled awkwardly. So it's Captain Feng, why would I attack your daughter? I was just joking. Chapter 497. Was he your boyfriend? Feng Tianlong had just received a phone call when he saw his daughter running over here. If he had come a second later, he would have regretted it. Oh. Xiao Xiao wasn't stupid, she knew that the old man would have done something to her if her father hadn't come. But the old man was clearly afraid of her father, and Xiao Xiao didn't know the reason behind it. She thought that the old man was afraid of her father and that made her happy. Professor Guan, it's been a while. I've been wanting to pay you a visit in the next couple of days. Tianlong was very happy to see Guan Xuemin there as well. He'd been wanting to pay him a visit in the next couple of days to ask about the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Tianlong and Guan Xuemin knew each other, but Guan Xuemin couldn't do anything after checking on Xiao Xiao's condition. He'd heard that even Lin Dongfang couldn't do anything back then, so how could he? But just because he couldn't do anything a few years ago didn't mean he couldn't now. As long as there was a sliver of hope, Tianlong wouldn't let it go. It's Feng, long time no see. Guan Xuemin smiled. I'm always free, just give me a call. Guan Xuemin was noticeably friendlier to Tianlong, and that pissed Gong Gao off. He humphed and pulled Qintian away. Alright, I'll be going then, Professor Guan. Tianlong had just gotten a phone call and something came up. He had to hurry back so he couldn't chat with Guan Xuemin. He'd have to visit another day. Alright. Guan Xuemin nodded. Tianlong was about to leave with Xiao Xiao when he saw Lin Yi from the corner of his eyes. His face changed. Ha! Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Tianlong had found him after all. In fact, Lin Yi was shocked when he saw Tianlong. He didn't expect Xiao Xiao to be Tianlong's daughter. Lin Yi kept trying to hide but didn't manage to do so in the end. Lin Yi waved his hand slightly, gesturing for him to keep quiet. Tianlong was a smart man, he knew that Lin Yi didn't want to expose his identity when he waved his hand, so he pretended not to see anything and pulled Xiao Xiao away. However, the lingering fear from before was gone. Instead, he mocked himself for being too nervous just now. Tianlong saw how Lin Yi moved his body slightly in front of Xiao Xiao, but he didn't think much about it. To him it was just an accident. He didn't think that Lin Yi was going to block Gong Gao's attack for Xiao Xiao. Now that she knew that it was Lin Yi, she understood that Lin Yi's actions were to protect Xiao Xiao. With his protection, Xiao Xiao would definitely be fine. Tianlong knew how strong Lin Yi was. Although he wasn't Wu Gonggao's opponent, he could still deal with him. Xiao Xiao, do you know them? Feng Tianlong asked without any change in his expression. He didn't understand how did Xiao Xiao know Lin Yi? From the looks of it, it seemed like they knew each other. Yeah, that Lin Yi is my deskmate at school, Xiao Xiao nodded. Xiao Xiao nodded, feeling a little weird. Didn't her dad care a lot about her? Wah. Tianlong's eyes went wide as he looked at Xiao Xiao in disbelief. You're saying, he's your classmate? Your deskmate? Yeah, what's wrong? Xiao Xiao looked at her dad, confused. She didn't understand why her dad was looking at her like that. Oh, nothing. Tianlong shook his head. Lin Yi wasn't part of the department, but he did cooperate with them on a few missions. But even so, with Lin Yi's identity, why would he go to school? He was a third-year high school student and his daughter's deskmate? Wasn't this a little too unbelievable? But he couldn't tell Xiao Xiao too much about Lin Yi. He had his doubts, but he could only bury them in his heart. He wasn't too sure about Lin Yi's identity, and it was the higher-ups who arranged for him to cooperate with the department's missions. Xiao Xiao, go back to the hotel first. Dad has something urgent to deal with and might not come back tonight. I might be busy tomorrow too. Feng Tianlong was in a difficult position. He just said that he wanted to play with his daughter for a few days, but now he had something else to do. It's fine, you go. I'll invite my classmate to the auction tomorrow. Xiao Xiao wasn't angry this time. She waved her hand casually. Xiao Xiao's attitude surprised Tianlong, but then he remembered how his daughter protected Lin Yi. Could it be that his daughter had feelings for him? Was she starting to like boys? And that boy was Lin Yi? Thinking of this possibility, Feng Tianlong jumped in fright. But Tianlong didn't object to his daughter's puppy love like other parents, because his daughter's situation was special. Quite the opposite, he wanted her to find a boyfriend and give him a grandson or granddaughter. That way, if something really happened to his daughter, he wouldn't have to spend the rest of his life alone. And his daughter's lover was Lin Yi. Tianlong supported it even more. He had seen how outstanding Lin Yi was. Tianlong wouldn't object if Xiao Xiao found someone else, but wouldn't it be better if she found someone he was satisfied with? Tianlong didn't want his daughter to run around, but if she really was with Lin Yi tomorrow, then Lin Yi would be able to protect her. He wasn't worried anymore. You're talking about that Lin Yi? Tianlong came to the parking lot and asked Xiao Xiao after getting in the car. Yeah. Xiao Xiao felt a little embarrassed. Judging from her dad's tone, he seemed to have realized something. But other than embarrassment, Xiao Xiao wasn't afraid. He was just playing around with Lin Yi right now. Even if she really got together with Lin Yi, she wouldn't care. She had always been a troublemaker since she was young. It didn't matter if her father was angry or not. Xiao Xiao, is he your boyfriend? Tianlong started the car and asked suddenly. Xiao Xiao didn't expect her father to be so direct. She paused and stuttered, no. Feng Tianlong asked back, didn't you seem to be quite protective of him? We're classmates and deskmates. Of course I'm protective. Xiao Xiao was embarrassed. She wasn't afraid of anything, but she was still a little shy when it came to relationships. Chapter 498. We sell hardcover editions to Chapter 498. Selling hardcover editions, huh? Xiao Xiao's eyes went wide as she looked at her father in disbelief. What did you say? What I mean is, Xiao Xiao, you're not young anymore. You should find a boyfriend, right? Tianlong coughed, feeling that this wasn't the right time to talk about this with his daughter, but he had to. Because of Xiao Xiao's special condition, Tianlong couldn't help but have this thought. Other parents didn't want their children to fall in love early, let alone have a child out of wedlock. But Tianlong wanted his daughter to give him a child as soon as possible. In truth, Tianlong knew deep down that there was no way to cure his daughter's illness. Even if he ran all over the place, the chances were slim. Even if a miracle doctor were to appear, extending her life by a few years would be the most he could do. A full recovery was a pipe dream. This was why Tianlong was so desperate for his daughter to get a boyfriend. He wanted to see his daughter's life continue, and he didn't care about anything else right now. There's no need for that, right? Xiao Xiao was even more embarrassed. Why would I get a boyfriend? I won't say much about that, just take care of yourself. Tianlong smiled and drove away. After dropping Xiao Xiao off at the hotel, Tianlong said a few words and quickly drove away. The people there were waiting for him, so Tianlong had to leave first. Xiao Xiao was alone in the hotel thinking about what her dad had just said. What did he mean? Supporting her to get a boyfriend? Xiao Xiao felt that it was odd. She wasn't even at the age to get married yet. Xiao Xiao suddenly remembered her special condition. Wasn't her mother the same age when she gave birth to her? Xiao Xiao's hereditary condition was rather weird. It was only passed down to females, not males. If it was a boy, it wouldn't be a problem, but it was a girl. She remembered hearing her father talk about her mother when she was young, and it seemed like her grandpa was in a rush to get her mother to be with her father, and the two didn't even register their marriage before they had her. But her father was a devoted man and didn't remarry after all these years. Her father was probably thinking the same thing as her grandpa back then, right? Xiao Xiao shook her head. But times had changed and she was still a high schooler. Getting a boyfriend and having a child? Wouldn't that be a little weird? Xiao Xiao had never thought about this before because as far as she was concerned in her short life, friendship didn't exist and love didn't exist. Xiao Xiao didn't want to get involved with anyone, and she didn't need other people's sympathy. She didn't want the pain of death. Therefore, in the past 18 years she had no close friends, only a group of scoundrels. She had never fallen for a boy because she didn't want to face that kind of unbearable pain. But Tianlong's words made Xiao Xiao fall into deep thought for the first time. Find a boyfriend? Can I like others too? Xiao Xiao smiled bitterly and shook her head. Who would like her? Finding a girlfriend like me who's about to die, isn't that just bad luck from 8 lifetimes? Before he could do anything he was already gone. Huh? Xiao Xiao suddenly thought of Lin Yi. If that was the case, Lin Yi would fall in love with her. Even if she didn't dump him he would still be in pain, right? With that thought Xiao Xiao made up her mind. Second uncle Lai Changyi and the others left. The young man who was bidding against Fatty Lai for the sheepskin map said quietly into his earpiece. Kun, follow them and see which hotel they're staying at. Then find out who that young man with Lai Changyi is. The middle-aged man beside Haitian ordered. Yes. The young man called Little Kun nodded. After exiting the auction house, his figure flashed and disappeared into the boundless night. Fatty Lai didn't have a car in Yanjing, and the hotel they were staying at wasn't too far from the auction hall. It was only about 1 kilometer on foot. Fatty Lai might be fat but he had a good body. Guan Xuemin had a healthy body and taking a stroll once in a while was good for his health. Lin Yi was even better. So the three didn't take a taxi but walked to the hotel. It was a good opportunity for some exercise, and they could get some supper at the hotel's restaurant. Boss, have you thought about what we're going to auction? Fatty Lai reminded Lin Yi. Afraid that he'd forgotten about the auction, Fatty Lai was still thinking about the auction again. I haven't thought about it yet. Lin Yi frowned deep in thought. Dr. Kong was auctioning off the special edition of Golden Creation. If he were to take out a special edition injury medicine as well, he'd be following the trend. Boss, I think we should make a special edition injury medicine as well. They have it and we have it too. It'd save us the trouble. Fatty Lai suggested, seeing that Lin Yi was in a difficult position. Isn't that following the trend? Wouldn't we be at a disadvantage? Lin Yi asked. Boss. I don't have a choice. We're still in the early stages of our company, and I don't plan on releasing too many types of medicine. The pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is enough. If we release too many types of medicine, we won't be able to showcase the benefits of our medicine and painkillers. Plus, we need to slowly reveal our trump cards. Bringing them out all at once isn't in line with our business goals, Fatty Lai said. Then let's make it a special edition injury medicine. Lin Yi nodded, already having a plan in mind. Our special edition injury medicine is different from Dr. Kang's. I've added a few herbs into the medicine and it's very effective on old scars. It can quickly remove rot and regenerate flesh. Fatty Lai's eyes widened, looking at Lin Yi in disbelief. Boss, is there really such a miraculous medicine? It's not that miraculous, it's just adding a few other herbs on top of the injury medicine. It's just that the cost is much higher. Lin Yi shrugged as he spoke calmly. It's fine if the cost is a little higher. It's a premium product and we won't add the normal version, Fatty Lai said. According to the price of the special edition Dr. Kang's Golden Creation every year, a box is worth more than 500,000. That's quite high. It's definitely enough to cover the cost. Lin Yi was surprised. A box of Golden Creation could sell for 500,000. Chapter 499. So low cost, so you're saying that there's more than one box of Dr. Kang's special edition Golden Creation every year? Lin Yi asked. One box. There's at least 20 boxes every year, but it's usually a limited price auction. The highest bid is 500,000, and it goes to whoever bids 500,000 first. It saves the tedious bidding process, Fatty Lai said. Fatty Lai said, 20 boxes, let's see who's faster. The first to bid 500,000 will get it first. So you're saying that each box is sold for 500,000? Lin Yi nodded and continued asking. Not really, but the first few boxes were sold for 500,000, and as the number of bidders dwindled, the price naturally dropped. There were 400,000 and 300,000, Fatty Lai said. 500,000 is fine. Let's see if there's a pharmacy nearby, I'll buy some more herbs. Lin Yi nodded, thinking that the profit was fair. It wasn't as much as the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but it wasn't a small amount. Most importantly, it could make a name for itself. Fatty Lai was already used to Lin Yi's miraculous feats. Lin Yi was probably the only one who'd concocted medicine the night before the auction. He quickly said, then I'll contact someone to buy some high-quality packaging and send it over overnight. No need, I'll buy some disposable bottles and put them in. Lin Yi waved his hand. Let them believe it or not. If they believe it, they'll bid. If they don't, they won't bid. That's true, there's no need to worry about selling good medicine. What's the point of giving them such good medicine? Fatty Lai nodded. It'll save us a lot of money. Huh? Lin Yi thought that Fatty Lai was really made for business. It seemed that leaving the medicine company to him was a wise decision. Right, what's the market price of Dr. Kang's golden creation? Dr. Kang's golden creation is 299 yuan a box, and our injury medicine, I think, will be priced at 288 yuan. Fatty Lai said. But I don't know what our cost is, so we haven't announced the price yet. What? We're selling it at 288 renminbi? Lin Yi's eyes widened. Dr. Kang actually sold a box of ordinary Jinchuang medicine for nearly 300 renminbi. Wasn't this a little too much? Who would be able to afford something that concerned the livelihood of the people if it was so expensive? Lin Yi naturally waved his sword and slaughtered those who didn't like him. But as for those poor people, Lin Yi really didn't have the thought of swindling their money. Too cheap? Fatty Lai was shocked when he saw Lin Yi's expression. Boss, Dr. Kang's golden creation is only selling for 299. Although the supply can't meet the demand, I'm afraid we won't be able to enter the market if we sell it at a higher price than him. I also know that our treatment is definitely better than his. Lin Yi heard Fatty Lai's words and knew that he had misunderstood. He couldn't help but smile. The cost of this thing is only a few kuai. I think it's a little expensive. Quack? How much? Fatty Lai froze and almost fell to the ground. Boss, did I hear it wrong? Few kuai. How is that possible? Then isn't the cost of Dr. Kang's golden creation also a few kuai? I don't know about his, I've never seen it before. Lin Yi shook his head. But this is our cost. I suggest that we sell it at a lower price so that normal people can afford it. All right, then we'll be a company that benefits the people. Fatty Lai clenched his teeth and said with pain, then we'll sell it for 199. He was an unscrupulous businessman, but since Lin Yi said it, Fatty Lai couldn't insist. From his point of view, 288 would definitely sell well, and there might even be a situation where the supply couldn't meet the demand. 199? In fact, Lin Yi still felt that it was a little expensive, but he didn't know how much money a company needed to operate. Seeing Fatty Lai's painful expression, he nodded. Fatty Lai let out a sigh of relief. He was also afraid that Lin Yi would cut down another 100 kuai and make it 99 kuai. Then the profit would be much lower. Then I'll make a plan. The next time we auction our products, we'll announce the retail price. Fatty Lai nodded. Boss, how much do you think we should set the price for the painkiller? The cost of one dose is around 50 kuai. Of course, it'll be lower if we mass produce it. You decide the price, Lin Yi said. Okay, then we'll set a box of 5 at 199 kuai? Fatty Lai probed. 99. Lin Yi said after some thought. Okay, I'll listen to you, boss. In fact, Fatty Lai was afraid that Lin Yi would bargain with him, so he set the price a little higher to give Lin Yi some room to bargain. After confirming the price of the 2 drugs, Fatty Lai was relieved. Most importantly, he knew the cost of the drugs, which made him even happier. This meant that Lin Yi had already treated him as one of his own, and he was slowly telling him some of the core things. They passed by a larger pharmacy and Lin Yi and the other 2 walked in. Lin Yi didn't use a prescription, but just dictated some herbs and let the attendant weigh them. Of course, although Lin Yi had built up some trust in Fatty Lai, it wasn't complete. When he was filling the prescription, he purposely added some useless herbs, and the dosage was also messed up. There were also a few main herbs that Lin Yi didn't mention. He only mentioned a few uncommon ones, but the attendant shook his head. It's okay, there are a lot of pharmacies in Yanjing. Let's go take a look at other pharmacies. Fatty Lai quickly said to Lin Yi. If it's not okay, I'll get someone to buy a car and send it over. No need for now, let's go take a look at other pharmacies first. Lin Yi smiled. After filling the prescription, Fatty Lai rushed to pay first. It wasn't much, just a few hundred yuan. Guan Xuemin didn't say anything and he didn't try to remember what Lin Yi bought. He was an honest man, and unless Lin Yi showed him the prescription, he wouldn't take the initiative to ask for someone else's prescription. Not long after the 3 left the pharmacy, the young man named Kuan looked at Lin Yi and Fatty Lai's backs. He hesitated for a while and then flashed into the pharmacy where Lin Yi bought his medicine. It was a straight path and there weren't any crossroads on either side. That was why Kun entered the pharmacy. Otherwise he wouldn't have risked getting lost. "Waiter, may I ask what the three people bought just now?" Kun asked the waiter in the pharmacy politely. Chapter 500. Someone's following you, Fatty Lai. Bring Grandpa Guan to the shop next door and wait for me. I'll go take care of something. Lin Yi suddenly stopped and ordered Fatty Lai. Fatty Lai didn't know what Lin Yi was going to do, but Lin Yi didn't seem to have any intention of explaining. He didn't press the matter and so he brought him to a store not far away. Lin Yi, on the other hand, turned around and walked quickly to the pharmacy he'd bought his medicine from. Lin Yi didn't expect to be followed on his first day in Yanjing. "I'm sorry, sir." The attendant smiled sweetly at Kun. "Our pharmacy has to keep our customers' privacy confidential." One had to admit that Kun was extremely handsome. He looked like the male lead in Korean dramas, and the attendant couldn't help but take a few more glances at him. Kun frowned. His looks had always been a lady killer and he thought the attendant would tell him the truth. He didn't expect her to keep it a secret. Still, Kun didn't give up. He took out his wallet and took out a few hundred kwai bills, placing them on the counter. "Pretty lady, give me some face. That guy was my buddy, and I don't know where he got this recipe from to buy my dad's medicine. But I don't know what he bought and I'm afraid my dad might get sick from eating it. I want to make sure." The average-looking attendant's heart skipped a beat. Kun's looks were pleasing, but the money on the counter was even more alluring. It was quite a temptation for a working girl like her. Her monthly salary was only 1,000 kwai and Kun was giving her 500. It was hard for her to refuse. After some hesitation, the attendant quickly put away the money and took out a list from under the counter. She placed it on the counter. "You can copy it but you can't take it away." Kun picked up the list and glanced at it. He had an extraordinary memory and it didn't take long for him to memorize the names of the medicines. He returned the list to the attendant. "I'm a medical student and I can tell if there are any conflicting medicines. There's nothing special and there's no problem. I'll return it to you." "Thank you." "Oh, all right." The waitress breathed a sigh of relief. This was the first time she had done something like betraying a customer's privacy. He was not used to it. After hearing Xiao Kun say that there was no problem, she immediately felt relieved. Moreover, he only took a glance, so there should be no problem. "Goodbye, beautiful, thank you." Xiao Kun turned around and walked out of the pharmacy. However, as soon as he walked out of the pharmacy, his face froze. Because he saw Lin Yi standing in front of him. "Why are you following me?" Lin Yi looked at little Kun and asked calmly. Lin Yi didn't want to cause any trouble in Beijing, but since someone was following him, Lin Yi couldn't just ignore it. Facing this kind of unknown danger, Lin Yi would usually choose to take action first. However, the jade didn't warn him, so this person shouldn't be too hostile towards him. So Lin Yi gave him a chance to explain and didn't kill this golden class mid-phase master right away. The person in front of him was at most in his early 20s, but he was able to have the strength of a mid-phase golden class. It was really not easy. "Following you? You must have mistaken me for someone else." Xiao Kun was only slightly shocked, but his expression returned to normal. However, there was a trace of surprise in his eyes. He didn't think that Lin Yi would find out that he was following him. Xiao Kun didn't deliberately hide himself when following these three people, but with his strength of the mid-phase golden class, it was a bit surprising that he was found out. "Really? You better not be." Lin Yi shrugged and remembered Xiao Kun's appearance. In the end, he gave up on the idea of killing him. Being in a foreign land, Lin Yi didn't want to attract too much trouble. Since this person in front of him didn't seem to have much hostility towards him, Lin Yi was only warning him. As long as he didn't follow him, it would be fine. Looking at Lin Yi's back, Xiao Kun frowned. He couldn't figure out how this ordinary-looking young man in front of him could find him. However, it was obviously a bit inappropriate to follow him now. Xiao Kun could only call his second uncle. "Second uncle, they found me." The middle-aged man was slightly taken aback. "They found you? They have a master bodyguard?" "I'm not sure. I don't know how they found me, but I was stopped by that young man. He asked me if I was following him." Xiao Kun was also very depressed. It was really like the saying, Always walk by the river and you will get your shoes wet. He actually failed miserably. He thought that it was a very simple tracking mission, but it was seen through by someone else. Forget it, you can come back. Since you know that Lai Changyi is with Guan Xiumin, it's fine. The middle-aged man thought for a moment and said, you pay attention to their company for a while. Tomorrow I will find a chance to test Lai Changyi and see what his purpose in buying that map is. Okay, second uncle. Xiao Kuan nodded and disappeared into the night. He didn't tell his second uncle about the pharmacy. Linny came to the boutique. Guan Xiumin and Fatty Lai weren't actually there to buy anything. They were just casually looking around. When they saw Linny, they went up to him. Is it done? Fatty Lai asked. Yeah, it was nothing. I just met an acquaintance. Lin Yi smiled and didn't tell them about the person following him. He didn't want Fatty Lai and Guan Xiumin to worry. Instinctively, Lin Yi didn't think that Kuan was coming for him. Maybe he saw the future of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company at the auction and followed him to see if there were any discoveries. Especially since he just came out from the hospital, it was obvious that he was going to find out what Lin Yi bought just now. So, Lin Yi thought that Kuan was trying to pry into business secrets and didn't think about the map fragment. Fortunately, Lin Yi was careful and didn't buy all the herbs at once. It saved him a lot of trouble. In fact, even if Lin Yi bought all the herbs, it wouldn't be of much use without basic injury medicine. Only when it was added to injury medicine would it have the effect of healing old scars. On the way they passed by another pharmacy. Lin Yi went to buy the rest of the herbs. Fatty Lai didn't seem to have any intention of writing them down, which made Lin Yi feel relieved. Chapter 501. Some left, isn't this broaching Tian? What's wrong? Why do you look so sad? The speaker was Xiao Ji's son Xiao Wangba. He knew that his family was at the end of its tether, so he wanted to get closer to the other noble houses as soon as possible. He walked up to Qing Tian when he saw him walking out with an unhappy face. Wangba and Qin Tian were friends in the past, friends who drank and played with women together. Qin Tian didn't reject Wangba as he looked at him. Don't talk about it, I met a little bastard who tried to steal my woman. Grandpa didn't even help me and dragged me out. I don't know why I can't offend that kid, he's just with Miracle Dr. Guan. Wangba smiled. Don't mention it, I met a little bastard who tried to steal my woman. Grandpa didn't even help me and dragged me out. I don't know what's so bad about that kid, he's just with Miracle Dr. Guan. That's right, Miracle Dr. Guan is nothing. Dr. Kong is the best. Wangba's brother Xiao Ben's son Xiao Wangye said. The Xiao family and House Kong were about to become in-laws, so it was only natural that they would side with Dr. Kong. That's right. Qing Tian felt that the Xiao family brothers were his cup of tea. What are you two doing? Come with me, if you have nothing to do, I'll treat you to a drink. Qin Tian was pissed and he wanted to talk to someone about it. The Xiao brothers looked at each other and were overjoyed. They wanted to get close to Qin Tian, and now that he invited them to dinner they were overjoyed. How could they not be happy? Sure. But let's treat bro Qin Tian. You're the big brother and we're the little ones. How can we let the big brother spend money? Wangba said. Since you put it like that, then all the more I can't let you guys treat me. Since I'm the big brother, it's only right that I treat you guys. Qing Tian heard the Xiao family brothers' compliments, and his displeasure lessened a bit. Alright, but we'll have to wait. Dr. Kang's Xiaolong bro and his fiancée, my cousin, will be here soon. Let's go together. Wangba nodded. Oh, Xiaolong? Qing Tian paused. I know him, we've met before. Let's go together. After waiting for a while, a Nissan VIP slowly drove over. This was the Xiao family's car. Although the Xiao family had fallen, they did not sell the car. This car was expensive to buy, but they would definitely lose a lot if they sold it, so it was better to keep it as a facade. House Xiao and Miracle Dr. Kong wanted Xiaolong and Xinyan to attend the auction as well, but Xinyan wouldn't go no matter what they said. Xiaolong had no choice but to stay at home with Xinyan. For the entire afternoon, Xinyan sat on the sofa, listening to her MP3 player and reading novels on her phone. No matter what Xiaolong said, Xinyan would only reply with "oh" or "oh." Xiaolong couldn't get mad at her at all. The auction ended at night and Wangba and Wang Dao invited Xiaolong out for dinner. Xinyan had no choice but to go with Xiaolong under her parents' urging. Her father had promised her that they'd have a meal together, and there was no rush to make a decision. They could go back to Songshan after the meal, and so Xinyan reluctantly came to the auction with Xiaolong. Bro Qingtian, do you have a car? Wang Ba asked Qingtian when he saw his family's car. Qingtian came with Gong Gao, but Gong Gao had evidently gone to meet some friends. Qingtian, on the other hand, was pissed that his grandpa didn't stand up for him, and so he didn't leave with his grandpa. So where was the car? Let's go. We'll take your family's car. Qingtian didn't think that not having a car was a loss of face. After all, people wouldn't believe him if he said he didn't have a car. Hey, that's great. Bro Qingtian, please get in. Wang Ba invited Qingtian into the car before getting in with Wang Dao. Kong bro, this is Bro Qingtian from House Iron Fist. Wang Dao introduced Qingtian to Xiaolong. Oh, Bro Qingtian, nice to meet you. We've met before. Xiaolong smiled and extended his hand. This is my fiancé Wang Xinyan. Xinyan, this is Bro Qingtian, the leader of the younger generation of House Iron Fist, our idol. Ah, you're too kind. Qingtian was very pleased with Xiaolong's words. Xiaolong, you're the nicest. We'll have to drink a few more cups later. No problem. Xiaolong agreed happily. He was good at his studies, but he wasn't a bookworm. On the contrary, he was very cunning. He knew how to please Qingtian. Wang Xinyan, on the other hand, sat there quietly, not saying a word. She listened to her MP3 player as if the people around her had nothing to do with her. Xiaolong didn't know what to do when Xinyan didn't say anything. But Qingtian didn't mind at all. He sat there and started chatting with Wang Ba. Lin Yi sent the 20 bottles of special edition injury medicine to Fatty Lai's room. Fatty Lai didn't think that Lin Yi would be done so quickly. He was surprised, but he admired himself for his wise decision to follow Lin Yi. Boss, how do we set the price for this special edition golden creation? Do as you see fit. Lin Yi wouldn't interfere with the price of this kind of auction item. Everyone who participated in the auction was a wealthy businessman. It wasn't a big deal for them to spend some money. Alright. With Lin Yi's full authority, Fatty Lai could do it on his own. He hesitated and said, Boss, can I participate in the auction for this special edition injury medicine? You need this. Lin Yi looked at Fatty Lai strangely. Men didn't seem to need this kind of thing, did they? Just like Lin Yi, there were a few battle scars on his body, but Lin Yi didn't think about removing them. There was no need. It's my wife. She had an appendectomy a few years ago and it left a scar. Fatty Lai said, a little embarrassed. You know, every time we make out, I feel uncomfortable when I see that scar. My wife likes to look pretty and she can't wear clothes that expose her navel in the summer. Alright, I got it. Lin Yi waved his hand when he saw that Fatty Lai wasn't done. I still have some left in my room. I was going to throw them away, but if you need them, you can take them back. Throw them away? Fatty Lai almost fainted. Boss, that's money we're talking about. It's a waste to throw them away, it's like throwing away money. I made a little more, but I don't have any bottles left. It's a little troublesome on my bed. I still need to sleep at night. Lin Yi shrugged nonchalantly. Lin Yi didn't really care about this kind of low-cost stuff. Chapter 502. My dad wants to see you. Lin Yi shoved the rest of the injury medicine into Fatty Lai's hands, only to see that the guy was about to cry again. He pushed the meatball out of the room and slammed the door shut. After stretching, Lin Yi called Tang Yun, but the phone was still turned off. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly, not sure if Tang Yun saw his text. He went to wash his face when his phone rang. Lin Yi thought it was Tang Yun, but it was Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't want to pick it up, but Xiao Xiao's perseverance was amazing. She called again and again and Lin Yi picked it up impatiently. What's up? Why are you being so mean to me? Xiao Xiao felt wronged when she heard Lin Yi's impatient voice. What was the meaning of this? He was so nice to other people, but this was how he treated her. Are you okay? Lin Yi ignored her. If not, I'm hanging up. Yes. Don't hang up, I have something. I really have something. Xiao Xiao jumped in fright. She quickly calmed Lin Yi down, trying to think of a reason to call Lin Yi. Just say it. Lin Yi resisted the urge to hang up. Where are you? Xiao Xiao asked. Hotel. Lin Yi said. Is there anything else? Yes, and Xiao Xiao was sweating. Which hotel are you staying at? What does this have to do with you? Lin Yi asked. Do you have something to do or not? Yes. My dad wants to see you. You saw him at the auction, right? Xiao Xiao couldn't think of a reason, so she came up with a random one. Your dad? Looking for me? Lin Yi was stunned. But he didn't doubt Xiao Xiao's words. After all, he knew Tianlong and they'd even gone on a mission together, so it was possible that Tianlong was looking for him. But if Tianlong was looking for him, why would he need Xiao Xiao to call him? Didn't he know how to fight? Also, he had already signaled Feng Tianlong with his eyes. As a professional agent, couldn't he see that he didn't want to expose his identity? Why would he come looking for him? It was one thing to look for him in private, but he even sent Xiao Xiao to look for him. Tianlong wouldn't do something like this without considering the consequences, would he? Yeah. Xiao Xiao had just come up with a random excuse and it was hard to keep up the lie now. Yes, why is Dad looking for Lin Yi? Xiao Xiao's brain worked furiously and finally she got it. I told my dad that you're my boyfriend, so he wants to see you, Xiao Xiao said shyly. What? Lin Yi almost threw the phone away. You can eat whatever you want, but how can you say whatever you want? Tell Tianlong that he's Xiao Xiao's boyfriend? Lin Yi understood. No wonder Tianlong wanted to see him. Any father would want to see their daughter's boyfriend, especially him. He knew Tianlong from before and Tianlong was probably wondering how he got together with his daughter. Which hotel are you at? I'll go look for you, Xiao Xiao said softly to Lin Yi. Never mind, where are you? I'll go look for you. Lin Yi was speechless. He really had to explain this to Tianlong or he'd be screwed. I'm at Songjiang International Hotel. I'll wait for you at the entrance. Xiao Xiao didn't expect Lin Yi to agree immediately. It seemed that using her dad as an excuse wasn't bad. She didn't know that Lin Yi had misunderstood her. There was more to this than met the eye. Okay. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and hung up. He really had to talk to Feng Tianlong about this. After saying goodbye to Fatty Lai and Guan Xiumin, the three of them planned to go to the restaurant for supper, but Lin Yi obviously couldn't eat. At the entrance of the hotel, they stopped a taxi and Lin Yi told the driver the name of Xiao Xiao's hotel. Songjiang International Hotel wasn't far from the hotel Lin Yi was staying at, but it was on the other side of the auction. The car stopped at the entrance of the hotel and Lin Yi paid the fare. He saw Xiao Xiao standing at the entrance waving at him. Lin Yi frowned. Xiao Xiao was still so enthusiastic at this time. Was she waiting for Tianlong to misunderstand? Lin Yi here. Xiao Xiao saw Lin Yi and called out excitedly, waving her hand back and forth. Where's your dad? Lin Yi walked in front of Xiao Xiao, ignoring her enthusiasm. Oh, my dad. Xiao Xiao had already thought of a plan. My dad received a call at the last minute and he's going to a meeting. He asked me to take care of you first. He'll be back soon. If it was someone else, they wouldn't believe Xiao Xiao's words. How could there be such a coincidence? She called Lin Yi over and the next thing she knew she had something to do and had to leave? But Lin Yi really believed her. As far as he was concerned, Tianlong was freer than him, but not much freer. He didn't know when the mission would come. It could be in the morning, it could be in the middle of the night. So Lin Yi nodded without hesitation. Where to wait? I haven't eaten yet. My dad asked me to treat you to something first. Xiao Xiao was a little surprised. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be so gullible. Logically speaking, Lin Yi wasn't that gullible. In school, Lin Yi wouldn't believe anything she said. What was wrong with him today? Although Xiao Xiao was confused, she wasn't stupid enough to ask. She could only bury it in her heart and wait and see. Well then let's eat something. Lin Yi had his dinner early. He was going to have supper with Fatty Lai and Xiumin, but Xiao Xiao called him over. Okay, then let's walk around and see if there's anything good around here. Xiao Xiao didn't expect Lin Yi to agree so easily. He was even more confused. Can't we eat here? Lin Yi pointed at the Songjiang International Hotel behind Xiao Xiao. How could they not eat at an international hotel? Xiao Xiao hesitated. It's really expensive here. I don't have enough money. Xiao Xiao was staying in an economy room, and it was paid for by Tianlong. The food here wasn't cheap. Xiao Xiao only brought a few thousand this time and she didn't want to spend it all at once. Chapter 503. Chapter 503. Wu Qintian's plans. Lin Yi's impression of Xiao Xiao didn't change, but he felt that Xiao Xiao had been acting strangely lately, confessing to him out of nowhere. He didn't know what she was planning. Now that she told Tianlong about it, Lin Yi couldn't help but wonder what she was thinking. Sure. Xiao Xiao didn't expect Lin Yi to treat her, so she nodded happily. As the two were talking, a Nissan MPV stopped in the parking lot of Songjiang International Hotel. Qintian Zhaolong, the Xiao family brothers and Xinyan got out of the car. Wang Ba praised, "Bro Qinan, you're amazing. I've only been here once or twice and those were during family gatherings. Haha, isn't this a piece of cake?" Qintian waved his hand cocky. In fact, although the Wu family was an ancient family, they advocated martial arts. They were good at practicing martial arts. However, when it came to doing business, they were mediocre. Although they had a few businesses, they were not very big. They only had tens of millions of income a year. This was also the reason why the Wu family only watched from the sidelines at the auction and rarely made a move. In fact, Songjiang International Hotel wasn't all expensive. Just like the guest rooms, they were divided into several grades. There were economy rooms, business rooms, luxury rooms, presidential suites, etc. The ordinary economy rooms were only a few hundred yuan a day, but the presidential suites were tens of thousands a day. It was the same for the F&B. The first and second floors were for normal hotels, so the prices weren't that expensive. A table only cost around 1,000 to 800, and if you didn't want a private room and chose to eat in the main hall, you could get it for a few dozen. The third and fourth floor, however, cost less than 8 or 10,000. The top floor was even more ridiculous. A table of food cost millions, and everything was cooked with top-quality ingredients and international chefs. Of course, there was a dedicated elevator for each level, so there was no need to worry about unpleasant situations because of the different levels of customers. This was a testament to the hotel's wealth. That's right. Bro Qingtian, you're definitely on a higher level than us. Xiao Wangdao gave him a thumbs up as well. Xinyan frowned. She didn't like this kind of flattery. She didn't understand why her father would fall for someone like this. Even if he interacted with such a person for 10 years, he would not fall in love with him. Wang Ba wanted to congratulate Qingtian, but when he raised his head, he noticed that Qingtian's expression wasn't right. Bro Qingtian, what's wrong? Fuck, I saw that bastard. Qingtian clenched his fist as he looked at Lin Yi, who wasn't too far away. He had the urge to run over and beat up Lin Yi. Oh, why is it him? Zhaolong paused when he saw Lin Yi. He didn't attend the auction, so he didn't know that Lin Yi was in Yanjing. Bro Qingtian, do you want us to teach him a lesson? Who is that little girl? She doesn't look bad? Wang Ba saw that Lin Yi was alone with a girl beside him, and he immediately became arrogant. Although the Xiao family was down and out, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. In Yanjing, Wang Ba didn't care about anyone. Ah. Xinyan gasped. She looked at Lin Yi in disbelief, wondering why Lin Yi was here. She even called him earlier. No need. Qingtian waved his hand. Wang Ba's words reminded him. The girl beside Lin Yi was obviously not Sun Jingyi, and if Lin Yi was Sun Jingyi's boyfriend, then why was he with another girl? It was Lin Yi's turn to be unlucky. Qingtian thought that if he told Sun Jingyi about this, would Sun Jingyi still be with Lin Yi? Of course, this kind of thing was nothing in the eyes of these young masters. As long as their girlfriends didn't find any evidence, it would be fine. If it was put on the table, it would be a big deal. No need. Wang Ba didn't understand what Qingtian meant. This was such a good chance to teach Lin Yi a lesson, why not use it? I'm going to treat them to dinner later, just cooperate with me. Don't talk nonsense, just listen to what I have to say. Qingtian wasn't stupid. If he directly told Sun Jingyi that Lin Yi had a girl outside, Sun Jingyi wouldn't believe him and would think that he was lying. Evidence was needed for everything. Although he could take a photo for Sun Jingyi, a photo of them talking in front of a hotel didn't prove anything. They could talk for half a day if they met someone they knew, and Qingtian wasn't stupid enough to use this as evidence. What he wanted to do was to treat Lin Yi to dinner. At that time he might be able to see the intimate actions between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. Of course, if Lin Yi was more cautious, he could force him to drink more. It was inevitable that he would give himself away after drinking, and if he took a photo, Sun Jingyi wouldn't believe it. Thinking of this, Qingtian felt that he was too much of a genius. He could kill without a trace and unknowingly set up a trap for his opponent to fall into. Bro Qingtian wants to treat him to dinner? Wang Ba couldn't believe his ears. Yes. Later, help me out. If he does anything intimate with that girl, use your phone to take a photo. Qingtian ordered. Okay. Wang Ba and the others nodded. Only Xinyan frowned. She didn't understand what Qin Tian was planning. Lin Yi. After giving the order, Qin Tian quickly walked towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't expect to see someone he knew here. He turned around and saw Qin Tian. He wondered if this guy was unhappy and came here to cause trouble. What do you want? Lin Yi looked at him, but his eyes fell on Xinyan, who was not far behind Qin Tian. This made Lin Yi even more surprised. Why was Xinyan with Qin Tian and the others? Besides, other than Xinyan, Lin Yi saw another familiar face, Kang Xiaolong. Bro Lin Yi, I'm really sorry for offending you just now. Qin Tian gritted his teeth and pretended to be apologetic to Lin Yi. My grandpa already scolded me, I hope you don't mind. Oh, I don't have time to mind small fries. I don't even remember your name. Lin Yi looked at him and waved his hand. You're Iron Fist Wu, right? Chapter 504. Chapter 504. Overbearing. Alright, is everything alright? Lin Yi looked at Qin Tian before turning to leave. Wait. There was no way Qin Tian would let Lin Yi leave just like that. How was he supposed to carry out his plan? He quickly called out to Lin Yi. I think you guys are going for supper, right? I'll treat you guys to dinner to express my apology. It's fine, we'll go ourselves. Lin Yi rejected Qin Tian's suggestion flatly. Don't worry, I won't feel good if you don't go. I know I'm in the wrong and it's best if I can change. Qin Tian said. Give me some face. Lin Yi looked at Xinyan, who wasn't too far away. She was looking at him expectantly. Could it be that Xinyan wanted him to eat with them? What was her relationship with Qin Tian? Lin Yi hesitated at the thought. If it was just Qin Tian treating him to dinner, Lin Yi wouldn't be interested at all, but with Xinyan things were different. But before Lin Yi could say anything, Xiao Xiao spoke up. You're treating us? Yeah, Lil Sis Xiao Xiao, I'm really sorry for what I did to you earlier. Qin Tian knew about Xiao Xiao's background now, and naturally didn't want to get on her bad side. He wasn't as angry as before. I see. I'll give you a chance to apologize then. What do you say, Lin Yi? Xiao Xiao winked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi blinked, not knowing what Xiao Xiao was planning. But when this girl made that expression, it meant that someone was going to be in trouble. Xiao Xiao had the same expression when she targeted him before, but this time the person in trouble was Qin Tian. He nodded. Alright, I'll listen to you. Qin Tian was overjoyed to see Lin Yi agree. Then let's go. It's my treat today, order whatever you want to eat and let's resolve this misunderstanding. Oh, we're going to the top floor of Songjiang International Hotel for supper. Let's go there then, Xiao Xiao nodded naturally. Qin Tian paused. He had only been to the third and fourth floor of Songjiang International Hotel, and that was already very luxurious. One table cost him tens of thousands of kuai. If this was the top floor, how much would it cost? Although he had never been there, he could imagine it. And so Qin Tian hesitated. He was planning to bring the Xiao family brothers and Xiaolong to the first floor, and with Lin Yi they could only go to the room on the second floor. The food and wine on the table would be around 10,000 yuan. But he didn't expect Xiao Xiao to ask for the top floor. What happened to you? Xiao Xiao looked at Qin Tian's face strangely. What's wrong with your face? Don't you practice Iron Fist? Did you practice Iron Skin Face too? Of course not, huh? Qin Tian forced a smile. Then let's go to the top floor. That's great. I've never been to the top floor before. I'll have to eat to my heart's content later. Xiao Xiao cheered. Xiao Xiao had only heard people say that the restaurant on the top floor was as luxurious as a palace, and the chefs were all world-class chefs, but she had never seen it before. Even if Tianlong's annual salary was high, there was no way he could take out half of it to take Xiao Xiao out to eat. Xiao Xiao thought that she wouldn't be able to see it before she died, but this idiot Qin Tian came right to her doorstep. Qin Tian wanted to curse. What the hell are you doing if you've never been there? But he'd already said it, and if he took it back he wouldn't be able to achieve his goal and he'd lose face. There were still the Xiao family brothers and Kang Xiaolong behind him, and he was the most famous person in the third generation of House Wu. How could he let them look down on him? Bro Qin Tian, I heard that the top floor is just like a palace and the rice bowls are all inlaid with diamonds. Wang Ba was looking forward to the luxurious restaurant on the top floor, but it wasn't something normal people could afford. What if Qin Tian didn't have the money to pay the bill? Thus he quickly whispered, isn't it a little too expensive? Wang Ba's voice wasn't loud, but Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao heard him. Xiao Xiao immediately said, "That expensive? I didn't know before, why don't we go ourselves, bro Qintian?" Xiao Xiao's words not only didn't have the desired effect, but it also angered Qintian. He was the son of a noble house, how could he let others look down on him? If he couldn't even afford a meal, wouldn't he be a laughing stock? He waved his hand generously. "This is nothing, it's not that much money. I said it's my treat, order whatever you like later." "I have to say, bro Qintian, you're so generous. Even my boyfriend isn't as generous as you." Xiao Xiao waved her fist happily and Qintian's heart skipped a beat. But he knew that he was pursuing Sun Jingyi, and if he didn't, he wouldn't have a good ending. Xiao Xiao was beautiful, but she wasn't someone he could mess with, especially when her father was Feng Tianlong. Qintian wouldn't take the initiative to mess with her. When he heard Xiao Xiao call Lin Yi her boyfriend, he was even happier. He had his suspicions about Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi's relationship, but now that it was confirmed, things were much easier. Spending so much money on treating them was worth it. With that thought, Qintian felt better. He said to Lin Yi, "Let me introduce you to a few friends. These two are Xiao Wangba and Xiao Wangdao from the Xiao family." "Huh?" Xiao Xiao's eyes widened. "Wow, aren't these two big bros' names too domineering? Especially Xiao Wangba, he's so domineering." "That's right." Xiao Wangba nodded. He thought that Xiao Xiao was complimenting him, so naturally he didn't hear the sarcasm in her tone. Xiao Xiao called him a little bastard. "Our names are domineering when combined." Xiao Wangdao nodded as well, not hearing the sarcasm in Xiao Xiao's tone at all. But it wasn't surprising. The Xiao family was like the sun in the sky and the old man was still alive. Even if people thought that Wangba and Xiao family were homophonic, they wouldn't say it out loud. Now that the Xiao family was gone, naturally no one had the time to say it out loud. Only Xinyan heard the sarcasm in Xiao Xiao's tone and couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Xiaolong fell head over heels for her. "Xinyan, another girl just came. I was worried that you'd feel awkward, but now there's someone to accompany you." Chapter 505. This meal wasn't for nothing. Welcome. The group went through the VIP passage and arrived at the elevator on the top floor. Every floor had its own passage to show how prestigious they were. The moment they entered, two waiters, one male and one female, bowed to them respectfully. The man and woman looked like a perfect couple, no weaker than those movie stars. Qintian's heart skipped a beat. If the door was this luxurious, wouldn't the inside be even more luxurious? He didn't know if he brought enough money, but it should be enough. Qintian had more than 100,000 in his bank card. He was the leader of the younger generation in House Wu, but House Wu wasn't that wealthy. Naturally, they had to control his pocket money. "Bro Qintian, look at the luxurious hallway. Are we really going in?" Wangba's heart was beating like a drum. Qintian wouldn't make him pay if he didn't have the money to pay. "What's with all the nonsense? We're here." Qintian frowned. He was nervous, but he didn't back down. "I said it's my treat. Why are you so nosy? Are you looking down on me, Qintian?" "That's not it." Xiao Wangba felt a little awkward. "Bro Qintian, bro Wangba isn't looking down on you. He's doing it for your own good. He's worried that you won't have enough money." Xiao Xiao interrupted. "He's just being nice." Qintian was irritated. How could this Xiao Xiao say that? What did she mean by worried that he wouldn't have enough money? He turned around and saw Xiao Xiao looking at him innocently. There wasn't a hint of disdain or mockery on her face. He was confused. Could it be that Xiao Xiao wasn't mocking him but explaining Wangba's intentions? "I know he's being nice, but I'm the first in line to inherit House Wu. How could I not have enough money? What a joke." Qintian explained gloomily. He didn't have any temper at all. Lin Yi looked at Xiao Xiao oddly amused. He didn't expect her to be so good at playing dumb. "Yeah, how could bro Qintian be poor? I'm the one who hasn't seen the world. I'm using my own worldview to judge bro Qintian." Wangba knew that his good intentions had ruined things. He quickly explained. "I'm really a frog in a well." "That's not true." Qintian was pleased with Wangba's words. He waved his hand and said generously, "It's normal that you've never been to the top floor. I've actually only been here once with Grandpa. It's expensive, but it's for a good reason. It's expensive for a good reason." "Qintian, bro Qintian. Man, I do have a boyfriend or else I'd fall in love with you. Xiao Xiao said worshipfully after hearing Qintian's words. Pfft. Lin Yi almost burst out laughing, but luckily he had a lot of self-control. It was just a weird expression on his face for a moment before returning to normal. I see Xiao Xiao's chin chase ti for him. Sich Tian Xiao Xiao sich ti full. He couldn't touch this Xiao Xiao, but he was happy to be praised by her. It was a wonderful thing to be acknowledged by a beauty. Your boyfriend isn't too bad either, Qintian said with a smile. But excellent men always go out and do things. You have to be careful and keep a close eye on him. Qintian was joking, but he was reminding Xiao Xiao to keep an eye on Lin Yi. Qintian felt that he was a genius. Even a question like that could lead to something that would benefit him. Once Xiao Xiao kept an eye on Lin Yi, he'd see how he'd get in touch with Sun Jingyi. Yeah, I'll have to be careful then. Xiao Xiao nodded seriously. Qintian was happy that Xiao Xiao was so obedient. Today's meal was worth it. Not only could he show Sun Jingyi the evidence that Lin Yi was with another girl, but he could also warn Xiao Xiao to keep an eye on Lin Yi. Xiao Xiao's father wasn't just anyone. He'd leak this information to Tianlong, and Lin Yi wouldn't be able to get rid of him even if he wanted to. Let's see if he'd have time to mess with Sun Jingyi then. Under the lead of a girl who was even prettier than a movie star, the group came to a private room. Qintian naturally sat at the head of the table. Lin Yi sat next to Xiao Xiao and Xiao Xiao sat next to Xinyan. It was just as Wang Ba said. The tableware on the table was made of pure gold, and the decorative vase in the middle was embedded with diamonds. If it wasn't made of zircon and was made of real diamonds, then this vase would be worth at least 1 million. Qintian was someone who had seen the world. His face only changed a little before returning to normal. These were all tableware and decorations. They were expensive to make, but they weren't consumables. Excuse me, can we start ordering? A waiter walked in and asked respectfully after seeing Qintian at the head of the table. Yes, you guys can order. Qintian waved his hand. Since he was treating, he had to act like he was treating. Ladies first. Wang Ba wanted to order a few dishes, but after some hesitation he passed the menu to Xiao Xiao and Xinyan. The dishes on the top floor must be ridiculously expensive. If Qintian didn't have money to pay after he ordered, he'd be screwed. This kind of thing wasn't unheard of. I'll order. Xiao Xiao took the menu and started flipping through it, her face turning bitter after a few pages. I'll pass. Why's the food here so expensive? Just a normal dish costs a few hundred. Lin Yi didn't know what to say, but he didn't know what to make of it. Qintian's heart skipped a beat when he heard Xiao Xiao say the dishes were expensive, but when she said it cost a few hundred he found it funny. A few hundred was too expensive. A few hundred wasn't expensive at all. He thought about the people here. Ordering 10 dishes would only cost him 8 to 10,000. It wasn't much at all. Therefore he waved his hand generously. It's okay. You can order whatever you want to eat. The dishes here are a little more expensive than other places, but it's still fair. The last time I came here with my grandpa, even he said that the service was so high class and the dishes were so cheap. Chapter 506. Xiao Xiao ordering what? Qintian waved his hand. You're mocking me, aren't you? What's this small amount of money? Grandpa and I ordered a few signature dishes here, and it didn't even cost much. I see. Xiao Xiao said worshipfully. I'll order then. Yeah, go ahead. Qintian thought to himself. It seemed that all girls liked pretentious guys. His strategy for pursuing Sun Jingyi was a bit problematic. He'd always been careful about his demeanor, pretending to be a gentleman in front of Sun Jingyi. But after seeing Xiao Xiao's reaction today, Qintian felt that it was better to be pretentious. Even Xiao Xiao, who already had a boyfriend, was looking at him in a different light now. Qintian felt as if he'd been enlightened, feeling that today's meal wasn't a waste at all. Not only did he achieve his goal, but he'd also learned how to hit on girls. Oh, give me one of each of these signature dishes. Xiao Xiao pointed at the signature dishes on the first page of the menu. But are you sure you want one of each? The waiter carefully repeated to confirm. The signature dishes on the first page weren't cheap at all. They all cost at least 500,000, and the ingredients were flown in the same day. Bro Qintian, which signature dish is the best here? Haven't you tried them all? Why don't we just pick a few? Xiao Xiao raised her head to look at Chintian. I think it's a bit wasteful if we order too much. The signature dishes here are all good. I've tried them all before and I can't tell which one is better. Chintian had never eaten signature dishes before. He couldn't say it now, and in order to not lose face he could only pretend that he'd eaten them all before and let Xiao Xiao order them all. He couldn't say that he didn't know which one was better, could he? The waiter saw that Chintian had already confirmed it and naturally he didn't ask any more. It was obvious that Chintian was the one treating today, and Chintian was an arrogant person with the aura of a rich young master. The waiter wasn't worried that he wouldn't be able to pay the bill. Alright, please continue. The waiter noted down the signature dish and politely gestured to Xiao Xiao. Actually, I'm not very good at ordering. Why don't you recommend some delicious dishes to me? I like seafood, Xiao Xiao said. Chintian let out a breath of relief after hearing Xiao Xiao's words. Seafood was expensive, but it wasn't that expensive. For ordinary people these were top-notch delicacies. But for the children of aristocratic families, these things were nothing special. What is the most expensive thing? Naturally, it was those rare and precious things in this world. He was really afraid that Xiao Xiao would eat some rare animal or something. That would be really expensive. If you're talking about seafood, we have Hokkaido abalone, Australian lobster and Devon crab. These are all our signature dishes. May I ask which grade would you like, madam? Hokkaido abalone is divided into. The waiter was about to introduce when Xiao Xiao interrupted him. Bro Chintian, why don't we get something cheaper? Something like the street food stalls. Xiao Xiao said, a little embarrassed. We've already ordered so many signature dishes. Why don't we order some cheaper seafood? What do you want cheap? I want the best. Chintian waved his hand. How expensive could seafood be? It wasn't like he hadn't eaten seafood in 5-star hotels before, and a meal would only cost 10 to 20,000 at most. Alright, the best Hokkaido abalone is. The waiter nodded and was about to introduce. I said I want the best. What do you mean? Do you think I've never eaten it before? Chintian was a little annoyed. This waiter was still introducing things here and there. Was he looking down on him? He felt like he had lost face and scolded the waiter impatiently. I'm sorry, sir. The waiter quickly apologized. He wanted to repeat the grade of the seafood in the restaurant. For example, the Hokkaido one-head abalone was the highest grade abalone. He wanted to brag about the strength of his restaurant, but the owner of this table clearly didn't like it. Then give me one of each seafood. I'll try it myself. And I've never eaten anything so delicious. I didn't waste my life. Even if I die, it's worth it. Xiao Xiao looked at Chintian gratefully. What do you mean one? One for everyone. Let's eat the good stuff. Chintian said to the waiter. Other than signature dishes and seafood, give us a few side dishes. Don't make them too low-end. They have to match these. Chintian said that, but in his heart he was thinking how expensive could normal side dishes be. Even if it was a little more high-end, a few vegetarian dishes would cost a few hundred to 1,000. The waiter didn't dare to say more and nodded to show that he remembered. She could tell that this table of customers was very generous. They were probably very rich and didn't like her to talk. Is there anything else? Do you want to order now? Bro Chintian, do we want wine? Wangba reminded Chintian. Give us some red wine, Chintian said to the waiter. 82 Lafite. Okay. The waiter was a little confused. The 82 Lafite was considered a good wine, but it was nothing compared to the dishes they ordered earlier. The dishes they ordered earlier didn't seem to match the 82 Lafite. But the waiter could see that Chintian's temper wasn't very good, so he didn't dare to ask. Who knew, maybe he liked 82 Lafite. After the waiter left, Chintian said, It's fate that brought us together today. Let me introduce everyone. This is Linny. I have a little conflict with Linny bro, but the fact that Linny bro came to this dinner shows his attitude. And this is his girlfriend Xiao Xiao. Kong Xiaolong. Xiaolong stood up and extended his hand to Linny. Lil bro Linny, we've met before. Ha. Linny smiled faintly but didn't extend his hand. Do you think we need to shake hands? Chapter 507. Chapter 507 Inch I've never minded idiots. Linny wouldn't let go of the grudge between him and Xiaolong no matter what, let alone Kong Ming Ming. Fan had been set up so badly by Kong Ming that it would be a miracle if Lin Yi didn't burn his house down. Lin Yi had always been a vengeful person. If it weren't for the mission, Xiaolong wouldn't even be standing here talking. Xiaolong's face changed, turning ugly. Xinyan, on the other hand, snuck a peek at Lin Yi, a smile on her lips. It wasn't clear if it was praise or amusement. Lin Yi had always been curious about the relationship between Xinyan and Xiaolong. He thought that they were close, but it didn't seem to be the case now. Xinyan seemed to be mocking Wang Ba and Xiaolong intentionally or otherwise. It made Lin Yi suspicious. Ahem. Qin Tian coughed. He'd finally managed to invite Lin Yi today, and he was planning to use this opportunity to expose his relationship with Xiao Xiao to Sun Jingyi. Naturally, he wouldn't let Xiaolong ruin it. Xiaolong took a deep breath, knowing that he couldn't do anything in front of Qin Tian. He could only sit back down, annoyed that Lin Yi didn't give him face. Today's supposed to be a happy day. Don't let those unhappiness spoil the mood. Qin Tian tried to smooth things over. Lin Yi bro, you and Xiao Xiao really are a perfect match. Lin Yi didn't say anything when Xiao Xiao spoke up happily. You think so too? Yeah, Lil sis Xiao Xiao, when did you guys get together? Qin Tian asked without a change in expression. A few days, I think. Xiao Xiao said after some calculations. I see. Qin Tian realized. Could it be that Lin Yi broke up with Sun Jingyi and got together with Xiao Xiao? That would save him a lot of trouble. But just to be safe, he still wanted to reveal the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi didn't say much, quietly observing Xiao Xiao and Qin Tian's every move. Lin Yi was a little confused about Xiao Xiao's attitude. She wasn't someone with that kind of personality, and she wouldn't be trying to get on Qin Tian's good side. According to his experience, Xiao Xiao was a very vengeful person. Otherwise, she wouldn't be looking for trouble with him over and over again. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, had just started a feud with Qin Tian at the auction. How could she act like nothing had happened? Judging from the way she was ordering, she was probably trying to trick Qin Tian. Qin Tian's attitude, on the other hand, made Lin Yi suspicious. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't believe that Qin Tian was apologizing to him. Unless Qin Tian was out of his mind, there was no way he would take the initiative to treat him and apologize. There had to be something fishy about this. Lin Yi didn't know what the guy's intentions were yet, but since he was already here, he'd just wait and see. Needless to say, the service of the restaurant on the top floor was pretty good. Not long after they ordered, the waiter placed all the delicacies on the table. Other than the specialties Xiao Xiao had ordered, there were also abalone, lobster and crab. Wow, I've never had such a sumptuous meal in my life. Xiao Xiao exclaimed like a country bumpkin. Eat more then. Qin Tian's vanity was greatly satisfied. He thought that Lin Yi was a far cry from him. He didn't know why Sun Jingyi liked Lin Yi. Looking at Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi probably hadn't even treated her to a sumptuous meal before, right? Yes, it must be because he didn't know how to act cool. He thought that Sun Jingyi was born in a rich family, so she must have seen everything, but it didn't seem to be the case now. As long as he kept acting cool in front of Sun Jingyi, she wouldn't have to worry about not liking him anymore. Then I won't hold back. Xiao Xiao brought the abalone in front of her and started eating with a fork, not caring about the others. After 2 mouthfuls, she praised, "This abalone is really delicious. It's my first time eating such a big abalone." "That's nothing." Qin Tian waved his hand and said proudly, "This abalone is just something we eat casually at home. The abalones we eat during the New Year are much bigger than this. This is a single-headed abalone, the one we eat at home is a half abalone." What about a half abalone? Bro Qin Tian, you're amazing, you've eaten everything. Xiao Xiao praised, "If that's the case, why don't you give me your share too? You'll get to eat it anyway, it's my first time eating it in my life." "Sure, no problem." Qin Tian's heart skipped a beat, cursing himself for talking too much. How the hell was he supposed to eat it? This single-headed abalone was the best. It was good enough to eat a small piece during the New Year. How could he eat it every day? But he'd already said it, how could he go back on his word? Qin Tian gritted his teeth and gave his abalone to Xiao Xiao. But in his heart, he comforted himself that what he was doing now was very pretentious. He'd just treat it as training, and he'd be able to practice it in front of Sun Jingyi in the future. Really? That's great. Man, these 2 aren't that much, I'm a little reluctant to eat them. Xiao Xiao might have said that, but the fork in her hand didn't stop stuffing food into her mouth. Xiao Xiao came with the intention of setting Qintian up. Who told him and his grandfather to treat her like that at the auction? Who else could she set up if not him? Besides, Xiao Xiao had never eaten such high-end food before. If she didn't eat her fill this time, she wouldn't even know if she'd be able to eat it before she died. So Xiao Xiao didn't care about her image at all, she just wanted to eat her fill first. This piece of trash is nothing in the eyes of us disciples of aristocratic families. Qintian continued to practice being pretentious. He realized that he was getting better and better at it. He didn't even blink when he talked big. He was very excited inside, but he kept his face calm. Wang Ba, don't you think so? Yeah. These seafood and whatnot are all normal in the eyes of us nobles. It's too bland. If we want to eat it, we usually eat crested ibis. Xiao family was one level lower than House Wu. How could they eat such high-end food? Even the old man of Xiao family didn't eat it more than a few times when he was alive. But in order to play along with Qintian, Xiao Wangba naturally talked big. What's crested ibis? Do you have it here? I want to eat it too. Xiao Xiao said, surprised. Chapter 508. Can you sponsor me? Ahem, crested ibis is a rare animal. Naturally it can't be found here, this restaurant's too low class. Qintian glared at Wangba and coughed twice. I see, I'll just eat the abalone then. Xiao Xiao naturally wouldn't expose Qintian and Wangba. She said to Wangba, Wangba bro, since you've eaten crested ibis, this abalone shouldn't be that rare. Can I have some too? What? Wangba was already drooling over the abalone, but since Qintian hadn't moved his chopsticks yet, he didn't want to. Xiao Xiao's words put him in a difficult position. What's wrong, Wangba bro? What's with that expression? You can't bear to give it to me? Xiao Xiao blinked innocently as she looked at Wangba. Of course not, he's just surprised that you're treating trash like treasure. Haha, right, Wangba? Qintian glared at Wangba again. Yes. Wangba's heart was bleeding and he wanted to slap himself. How could he be so shameless? Wangdao bro, you don't want it either? Give it to me? Xiao Xiao asked. Wangba was secretly glad that he didn't say anything, thinking that he'd be able to eat some later. He didn't think that Xiao Xiao would take the initiative to attack him. He was so pissed that he wanted to ask Xiao Xiao if she could eat it. But for Qintian's sake he had to give it up. Of course you can have it all, but you can't eat too much seafood, you'll get diarrhea. Oh, it's fine, diarrhea is even better. I'll continue eating after that. Xiao Xiao said with a serious face. It'll just empty some space in my stomach. Pfft. Linny almost couldn't hold it in. This Xiao Xiao was really something, daring to say anything. But thinking about how she even dared to go into the men's washroom, Linny didn't think it was strange at all. But seeing Xiao Xiao from a bystander's point of view made him feel that Xiao Xiao still had a cute side to her. Qintian lost his appetite all of a sudden as he looked at the delicacies on the table, feeling nauseated. He'd never eaten anything like this before, and even if he gave all the seafood to Xiao Xiao, he could at least try some of the signature dishes, right? But after what Xiao Xiao had done to him, he had to go to the bathroom and take a dump. How could he eat? Qintian was a little annoyed that he'd brought the Xiao family brothers out. What the hell were they, two idiots who couldn't do anything right? But on second thought, looking at it from another perspective, with these two idiots around, he could also train his ability to improvise and act cool. Adversity produces talent, this saying did make sense. You guys don't want to eat these lobsters, right? Then give it to me too. Xiao Xiao finished the 3 abalones in 2 or 3 bites, not knowing where they went. Even if seafood didn't take up much space, eating that much was enough. Alright, I'll give them all to you. Eat slowly. Qintian said as he looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi's phone vibrated. This time he followed Xinyan's example and took out his phone after a while. It was a message from Xinyan. My family wants me to get engaged to Kang Xiaolong. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown after reading Xinyan's message. Getting engaged to Xiaolong? To be honest, Lin Yi didn't want Xinyan to get too close to the Kangs. Chapter 509. I need to pack. After some hesitation, Lin Yi sent a text to Xinyan. Don't get too close to House Kong, they're done for. Xinyan read Lin Yi's text, her mouth forming an O shape. She couldn't believe that Lin Yi would warn her so bluntly. House Kong was done for? How could House Kong be done for? Xinyan didn't like House Kong, but she could see that House Kong was on the rise. She didn't understand why House Kong would be done for all of a sudden. Could it be that this had something to do with Lin Yi? Xinyan's heart tightened at the thought, her chest pounding like a deer. Was Lin Yi telling her this because he trusted her? Wasn't he afraid that she'd tell Xiaolong? Or was he doing this just for her? Could he tell that she wasn't happy with the marriage? Or was it because of her? Xinyan blushed as she took a deep breath. She looked around cautiously, realizing that Xiaolong wasn't paying attention to her. Xiaolong was busy taking pictures of Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao in order to please Qintian. Everyone at the table had their phones in their hands, and so it wasn't out of place for Xinyan and Lin Yi to take out their phones as well. I don't like him, don't mess around. Xinyan hesitated before sending a text to Lin Yi. She regretted it after sending it. Wasn't what she said a little too flirtatious? She didn't want Lin Yi to get into trouble, but it seemed like she was trying to clarify something with Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled after reading the text. Don't worry, I don't have time to deal with him if he doesn't mess with me. Xinyan let out a sigh of relief when she read Lin Yi's message, but she was also a little surprised. Lin Yi's tone was pretty cocky, and that made Xinyan even more curious. Just who was Lin Yi? From the first time she met him on the train to the second time they met on the commercial street, to the time they took a plane together a few days ago, and now they were eating at the same table, Lin Yi seemed to play a different role every time. Bro Qingtian, they called you House Iron Fist Wu. What's that about? Xiao Xiao suddenly remembered Iron Fist Wu after eating for a while and asked curiously. Qintian's mood brightened upon hearing Xiao Xiao's question. It seemed that this meal was indeed worth it. This Xiao Xiao was really a good person, understanding. He was just worried that he didn't have a place to practice showing off. Now he had a chance to show off. However, Qintian didn't want to practice the normal methods of showing off anymore. He wanted to challenge a higher realm. And so, Qintian glanced at Wang Ba, signaling him to act cool with him. One had to know that a successful pretentious person couldn't do it alone. He needed the cooperation of others in order to be able to show off his skills and level. Wang Ba understood immediately and said to Xiao Xiao, "You don't know, do you? Bro Qingtian's family is an ancient martial arts family, and the martial arts they practice is called Iron Fist Arts. It's quite powerful and he can crush iron with one hand." Wow. That's amazing. Xiao Xiao's eyes widened. Isn't that Superman? What's so great about Superman? Compared to Bro Qingtian, he's just a piece of trash. Wang Ba said. Then Bro Qingtian, can you show me? Let me see your heroism. Xiao Xiao said excitedly. There's a vase here, why don't you crush it for me? With that, Xiao Xiao pointed at the golden vase with diamonds on it on the table. What? This? Qintian froze. This golden vase seemed to be worth a lot of money. You wouldn't have to pay for it if he crushed it, would he? But isn't this thing too expensive? It's my fault. Why don't we find something cheaper to crush? Xiao Xiao said, a little embarrassed. Expensive? What's so expensive about it? This gold is too soft. I'm afraid I can't show off my true strength. Qintian waved his hand and said nonchalantly. Well, so that's how it is. Then hurry up and crush it. Let me see it. Xiao Xiao nodded. I knew it. Bro Qingtian is from a first-rate house, so he must be super rich. Why would he care about a broken vase? That's right. Qintian grabbed the vase on the table and squeezed it hard. The vase immediately deflated and the diamonds on it fell. Wow. That's so cool. Xiao Xiao clapped and cheered. Bro Qingtian, you're so cool. You're the most manly man in the world. I guess so. Qintian was very pleased with himself. Only now did he realize how great it was to act cool. Not only was his vanity greatly satisfied, but it was also good at picking up girls. Bro Qingtian, can you give this vase to me as a souvenir? Whenever I see this vase, I'll be reminded of your bravery. Xiao Xiao said expectantly. No problem. Qintian passed the vase to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao put it away excitedly along with the diamonds that had fallen from the top. Wang Ba wanted to say something, but seeing Qintian's nonchalant face, he didn't say anything more. Thank you, Bro Qingtian. Bro Qingtian, I'm sure any girl would fall in love with your iron fist. If I didn't already have a boyfriend, I'd want to leave with you. Xiao Xiao said excitedly, her face red. Qintian's heart skipped a beat. He almost said, it's fine if you have a boyfriend, you can stay with me tonight. But then he remembered that Xiao Xiao was Lin Yi's girlfriend. If he brought her back, not only would Tianlong not let him go, but he'd also have problems pursuing Sun Jingyi. He quickly gave up on the idea. But he said proudly, it's not bad. I didn't use it easily before, so not many girls liked me. Broaching on, you're too humble. Xiao Xiao praised him and continued to finish the food on the table. She could eat quite a lot after talking for a while. Half an hour later, phew, I'm full. Xiao Xiao put the knife, fork and chopsticks on the table and let out a long breath. She rubbed her stomach. It's too delicious. Can I take it home? What? Qintian thought to himself. We haven't even eaten yet and you want to take it home? But thinking about it, he achieved his goal today. Not only did he learn how to act cool, but he also managed to get a picture of Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao. It was quite rewarding. Chapter 5:10. Fainting after packing Xiao Xiao's bag, Qintian went to pay the bill. He was shocked when he saw the bill. How much is this? Qintian's eyes widened as he looked at the bill in disbelief. Sir, you've spent a total of 15,037,000. You can take the rest as a discount. It'll be 15 million, the waiter said with a smile. 15 million? Qintian couldn't believe that he had spent 5 million on a single meal. But when he looked at the bill, the signature dishes were all at least 10,000, and the expensive ones were as high as 300,000 to 400,000. The single-head abalone wasn't cheap either, and the cheapest one was probably the 1982 Lafite he ordered. However, Qintian was still confused after looking at the menu. Did you guys make a mistake? It's only a little more than 5 million. How come it's 10 million? Sir, the vase on the table has been crushed by you. The value of the vase is 10 million. The waiter explained unhurriedly. What? 10 million for a vase? Qintian jumped. Sir. There are 6 4-carat diamonds embedded on the vase, and it's made of pure gold. The 10 million is only half of the cost, the waiter said with a smile. We have a certificate from an authoritative organization. Would you like to take a look, sir? Qintian wanted to cry. Wasn't this a little too much? But he knew that a high-class place like this wouldn't purposely rip him off. It was whatever they said it was. Moreover, the price of a 4-carat diamond was probably more than 1 million yuan. So, the price of 6 4-carat diamonds, plus the gold vase, was really not expensive at all. But he'd broken it and given it to Xiao Xiao. He was about to go crazy. The cost of showing off was way too high. It seemed like he shouldn't act so casually in the future. Qintian saw Lin Yi, Xiao Xiao, the Xiao family brothers and Zhaolong walking over. He put away his pained expression and purposely raised his voice. We didn't eat much, we only spent 15 million on these things. This shop is really cheap, really cheap. The Xiao family's brothers were stunned. They thought to themselves that the Wu family was indeed different from their own family. The Wu family spent 15 million for a meal and they even complained that it was too little. They were indeed extraordinary. Ah, Bro Qingyun, you're so rich. Xiao Xiao praised. A lot of people can't even earn 15 million in their entire lifetimes, and you're spending 15 million on one meal and you think it's not a lot? You're so cool. That's right. This amount of money is nothing in the eyes of us aristocratic families. Qintian was used to showing off now and he was always showing off, so the words just came out of his mouth. Then I'll get a braised shark fin for takeaway, okay? I wanted to order it but I didn't want to spend too much money. Xiao Xiao looked at Qintian pitifully. I really want to try shark fin. Okay, no problem. Qintian sweated. His family wasn't like the other aristocratic families. House Wu's annual income was only a few tens of millions, with hundreds of millions during good times, and they needed to support the entire Wu family's expenses. As a result, the pocket money of the younger generation was only a few 100,000 a year, and he'd spent 15 million on one meal. If his grandpa Wu Gonggao found out, he'd be furious. But if he didn't tell his grandpa, he really wouldn't have the money. But that was secondary. He first ordered a shark fin for Xiao Xiao and sent her away. Only then did he stand in front of the bar with a frown on his face, trying to think of a solution. The Xiao family's brothers were sent downstairs by Qintian, and he hesitantly called his grandpa. Hello? Grandpa, it's me, Qintian. Qintian said carefully. What is it? I'm busy right now, spit it out. Gonggao had a stomach full of anger from Tianlong, and he had no place to vent it. Of course this wasn't much. He went to his son-in-law, Lu Tianyi, to see if he could get the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing from him, but he didn't expect his son-in-law to insist that it was for Jinhu's treatment, and that he couldn't give it to him. This made him feel bad and embarrassed. And so, even his favorite grandson calling him didn't put him in a good mood. "Grandpa, I'm eating at a restaurant and I don't have enough money," Chintian said weakly. "Why the hell would you go eat if you don't have enough money? What were you thinking before you went?" Gong Gao humphed. "Didn't you bring your credit card? You can't use it there?" "No. The credit card has a limit and it's not enough," Chintian said guiltily. "Not enough? How much money did you spend? I thought the credit card had a limit of 200,000? Gong Gao's voice went up an octave. 1,000. 1,000. Chintian was a little scared. This was the first time his grandpa had gotten so angry at him. 1,000? You can't even swipe 1,000 on your credit card? How do you spend your money normally? Gong Gao raged. This Chintian had maxed out his credit card. No, it's not 1,000. Chintian was a little scared. His grandpa was already so pissed off with 200,000. If he told him he'd spent 15 million, he'd be furious. "How much is it if it's not 1,000? Gong Gao humphed. "You're not embarrassed enough, kid. You ate 1,000 and you don't even have money to pay. You're a disgrace to our Wu house." "It's 15 million, Grandpa. I spent 15 million. Chintian gritted his teeth. There was no point in dragging this out. What? What did you say?" Gong Gao couldn't react to Chintian's words. "How much did you say you spent?" 15 million. Chintian repeated. Gong Gao went silent on the other side of the phone. "Grandpa? Grandpa?" Chintian called out in confusion, but there was no reply. He hadn't even called out twice when there was some noise on the other side, followed by Lu Tianyi's voice. "Dad, what's wrong? Why did you faint all of a sudden?" Chintian jumped in fright. "Grandpa fainted?" He quickly yelled into the phone. "Grandpa? Grandpa?" But there was nothing but noise on the other side of the phone. Chintian hung up helplessly, looking at the waiter anxiously. "Can I owe it first? I didn't bring any money and my grandpa fainted. Have to go back." You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.